Okay, we are live.
Indeed.
How's everybody doing in the chat?
Yeah, they must be having a football game down the street. There's a school over there. I was like, I heard voices coming from outside. All right.
So, we are going to be doing our first live positive spin tonight.
Yes.
For those of you who are subscribed to us and watch our channels, Jason and I have a positive spin series where we watch movies that are typically hated by what seems like the majority of movie fans,
Yeah.
the loudest fans. And
Yeah.
we watch those movies, and then we basically give positive reviews, for lack of a better word. We say what we do like about them, why people should give them another chance, and so forth. And a lot of these movies we end up really liking. So it's not even like we're just doing it,
Yeah.
because they're hated movies. We end up enjoying them.
Or we've liked them all along.
Exactly. As for Witchcraft, Witchcraft franchise, some people, the select few who claim they have seen all 16, many of those people also say that it's the worst horror franchise ever, and give it all these sort of reverse superlatives, if you will.
Yes.
And the fact of the matter is that's just not true. If they if they think this is the
Yeah.
worst, if they think this is the worst franchise, then, like I say in many of my positive spin videos, they have not seen enough horror,
Yeah,
because
you
this
got that
is
right.
not
Especially
the worst
independent horror.
franchise. Exactly.
Yeah.
If anything, I personally love this Witchcraft franchise. I have so much fun with it.
It is fun.
For
It is
me,
a
if
lot
I'm
of fun.
entertained, I'm happy, and these movies definitely entertain.
Yeah. For one reason or another, they definitely do. That's for sure. It's just fun. It's
It
just a
is.
fun series.
We got through what? We got through them in what, 6 days?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
16 movies in 6 days, and honestly, we probably could have gotten them done in 4 days if we really wanted to, based
Yeah,
on,
I mean,
it was just the way that it started. We did it on a Friday night. We started them, and
yeah,
the weekend we really don't watch a lot usually on the weekends,
yeah,
because we're with our wives and all that and stuff. So I'm just saying, had we started on, say, like a Monday, we probably could have gotten them done in like 4 days.
yeah, yeah. I was at my babysitting my grand dogs, and that's why I think we only watched like two or three of them over the weekend. So
Hey, beef
that's a
curtains.
lot.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. I know he's seen them too, so that's good.
There we go. Somebody who's seen all 16 films. That's awesome.
Ghoul World Order, saw some of them. Oh, good. Enjoyed what they saw. Eventually want to
Exactly.
see all of them. Yeah, I mean, it's the unfortunate thing is a lot of them are getting tougher to find now
Yeah.
on physical media, especially. Um, we still have 3 out of the 16 that have never been released on DVD or Blu-ray, and that's 3, 5, and 8. And we'll talk more about that as we get into it.
Yeah.
So, what you can find now, it's different streaming services every now and then that have them. But I'll notice, for those of you who might want to watch them on Tubi, they do have cut versions of the films, like the R-rated version. So there is stuff cut out of them. I don't know why they do that, which is strange, because Tubi has uncut movies and other movies that are uncut. So
I don't know why they do that. It's kind of
yeah,
weird to me. But you have found two different cuts of several films, so maybe that was the only cut that was available to them.
yeah,
I mean, it's
could be.
possible, but at least they're streaming them. No one else is even streaming them. So
It seems that 10 through 16 all have two cuts, with the
okay,
exception of 12. I think 12 is just one.
yeah, because 11 is the only uncut one I haven't seen. Right,
Well, 10 too. Yeah.
10 too. Okay,
Yeah. So 10, 11, 13,
right.
14, 15, 16 are
Stephanie
all
Beaton in
exactly.
10.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I
So
exactly, Brad. A Bones. It's just
hey, Bones.
it's definitely a bold statement to say these are the worst. And I stand by the fact that people who are saying that, I have they really seen all of them? Did they watch them and actually pay attention to them? Did they watch them years ago and just going by what they remember back then? Because people, first of all, people's tastes change.
Yes, very much
Jason and
so.
I were talking right before we went live. I used to see these tapes in the video store. Jason used to see them in the video store.
Yep.
And the great thing about these, the VHS releases, they all had like these, the covers were very similar. They had the same Witchcraft logo on them with the same font.
Yeah.
Always had some, half naked girl on the cover or some, some steamy image like 80s and
Might be able
90s.
to see that if you put it up
Yeah,
solo.
like 80s, 90s romance novels. Hold on, I'm getting there. Yeah. So
They're very uniform, and I'll say that they actually. I was very interested in watching them, although that wasn't the type of film that I would rent at that point in time in my life. I was more akin to slashers, like you were, Joe, and even though I found them intriguing for one reason or another, I didn't really rent them. I picked them up a few times, but I never rented them.
exactly, like I saw the covers. They always interested me, but I was same way. It was like I'd rather rent the slasher. I mean,
Yep.
again, you got to realize back then, even if I rented a couple of movies at a time, say I rented 2-3 movies, I was only renting 2 or 3 movies. So did I want to waste one of my rentals on something I wasn't so sure about? It was more about, do I go with something that I know has some good
Right.
slasher elements and blood and guts and this and that, or do I go for the erotic horror witchcraft movie?
Yeah.
But those of you who have been watching my channel, you might remember last year I watched all 16, most of them for the first time. I think I may have seen 1 or 2 back in the day, and I watched all 16 over the course of a couple weeks, reviewed each of them, and then did a ranking last year of all 16. Ever since then, I think about them often. I could not wait to watch them again.
Yeah.
Jason expressed interest in checking them out back then, and like I said, they're hard to find and compile and get together to be able to watch. So we're finally able to do that and watch them together, and we watched them all in 6 days. Decided I'm we're going to be ranking them here tonight. I will say my ranking has changed since last time. So
I forgot to watch your ranking.
those of you who saw my original ranking, it is different this time around. So you're not just watching the same thing over again. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
It is. Really yeah, I meant to watch your ranking again, but I did some homework today because this is only my first time seeing all of them. Mm-hmm. I had never seen them before when I was younger. So I did some homework because I'm not quite as familiar with these films as Joe is. Although he's seen them one other time, but sometimes it makes a big difference.
It does, because I mean, when I watched them last year, I wasn't doing it just like lounging back and watching them. Like I was doing it because I wanted to watch all 16. I wanted to review all of them. Yep. I wanted to rank them. So when I do that stuff, I like to research the movies. Yeah. All of the facts I find might not always show up in my videos because I cut things down, the way my videos are edited. But I just like to know going in, before I film a video. I like to have that knowledge about the movies that I'm reviewing. So not only did I research them last year while I watched them, I researched them again this year while I was watching them, a second time. So I do feel like I'm pretty familiar with all of them now, and I'm already looking forward to watching them again.
Me too. Hey, Jennifer.
Hey, Jason and I have already, kind of declared that we're going to make this an annual tradition. And once a year, we're going to make our way through all 16 witchcraft films and probably do some videos each year on them too, whether they be reviews or re-rankings or whatever they might be, just to sort of promote them, because I do think they're ignored. I feel that they deserve more attention. I feel more people would enjoy them if they gave them a chance.
Yeah.
So if we can get the word out there each year, we'll do that.
And it's actually the longest running horror movie franchise, which is no small feat, especially since it spanned from 1988 to 2016.
And by that, it's longest running linear, you know what I mean? Like no remakes, no reboots, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously Halloween started in 78 and it's still going, but we've had reboots and stuff like that. This is a franchise that has 16 movies, and it was never rebooted, or there's no remakes in there. They're all, for the most part, linear in their own universe, their own timeline.
You could almost say 8 was a reboot, almost like they were trying to do something different with the series, but they did make that mistake of putting one of the characters in there. So that just means it's linear. So, in my opinion, and I'm sure in your opinion as well.
Well, it is. I mean, 8 is one of those things where there's nothing in it that takes it out of the universe because it's in a different place. Again, we'll get to it when we were ranking them, but all of these movies are pretty much set in California, and then part 8 is set in Salem, Massachusetts, even though it was filmed in California too. But the point is, there's no reason that this isn't part of the same universe. It's just happening to different people. And it helps because of what happens with 7 and 9. I kind of like it in there,
I do too. They could have just given up after 7, but they didn't.
8 is pretty refreshing, and I think people will notice when we get to our ranking. You'll see how much we do like 8, which is the standalone in this one. It's the Halloween 3 of the franchise, is what I call it, because it sort of does its own thing, even though it follows the same rules of the franchise.
You know what? I kind of agree with you there, Beef Curtains.
Yeah, when I was younger, that's definitely what I was expecting. Well, that's cool. Horror 84. I mean, that's what we're going to talk about them today. So,
hey, Larry D.
Hey, Larry.
So, if you've ever seen a copy of Witchcraft, either on streaming or in a store or anything like that, or in the shelves of your former video store, and thought, I kind of want to see this, but I'm not quite sure, we're here to tell you, give you the lowdown.
And I'll also say this: if you do see them like at a thrift store or something, pick them up. Because they're, like I said, they're not easy to find, and gradually over the last couple of years or so, they have really gotten pretty rare. And I'm not trying to credit myself here, but I noticed last year, before I did my journey through the series, reviewing them, ranking them, they were pretty readily available. Like, I mean, you could get them really cheap on eBay.
Yep.
I was finding them everywhere.
I was pissed off.
I noticed that, and I was promoting it last year a lot when I was doing the reviews and the ranking. There were people on Instagram, on YouTube, whatever, that were interested in what I was doing. And I noticed a lot of the people started picking them up based on my recommendations, which I think is really cool because that's a big reason why I do this.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like all of a sudden they were wicked hard to find. And it was like, what the hell happened? Like, is it just odd coincidental timing, or was it like a word of mouth thing because it's not like they're not talked about that often. And
no, definitely not.
I was promoting the hell out of it last year. And like I said, it was literally right after that I noticed, boom, they're no longer that easy to find. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I almost picked up a few of them, but we were doing so much last year that I just
Craig
didn't really have a chance. So
I didn't realize that was Craig. I should have known. Australia.
Craig. Craig,
Bones,
you actually like these movies.
Bones, they didn't unfortunately make a box set. Jason has a box set that I just made, but there's no official box set of them. Scott, they are all right. So the first 4 are pretty much just witchcraft horror films. Once you get into 5, it starts going into the erotic horror genre, but they're definitely still horror films. They just add in some sort of softcore erotic scenes throughout a lot of the sequels. But truthfully, it adds to the cheesiness, it adds to the fun, the entertainment, and it actually those scenes actually somehow fit into the stories. Like, they're not as gratuitous as they are.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Most of them do. I mean, think about the stories. You have a lot of the stories focus on the women getting victims, and this is how they're getting them. And
that's true.
The only gratuitous stuff comes in is like Will and Kelly.
Or Will in this one, or Will in this one, or he gets around a little bit. He's a cool. I like the character of Will Spanner, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, see, Beef Beef Curtin said he went hard. He scored 1 through 11 on tape right after I did the ranking video last year.
That's awesome.
I remember
That is
him
awesome.
doing that, and because he wanted to watch them all, and yeah, I thought that was cool, and I'm glad you got them back then because, like I said, they are not easy to find anymore.
Goal World Order Part 5 onward
Yeah.
is where the fun really begins. That's true. That's actually true.
Larry D, that was which board?
Yeah. Love that movie too. Second one, it's a fun watch. Witchcraft, fun watch as well, but they're different franchises.
Should we start? You want to start doing the ranking?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. So there are 16 witchcraft films.
Mm-hmm. We're not going to be able to really show the covers this time because they're
don't worry about
small.
that. Yeah. As always, we're going to start with our least favorites and work our way down to our favorite.
Yep.
Keeping in mind, once again, and I honestly, truthfully mean this, I like all 16 of these movies.
Me too.
And when you see what my number 16 is, you're going to understand that that's true.
Yeah.
Because of what number 16 is.
You want to go first or you want me to?
No, you can go first. Keep it different, I guess. So number 16, what do you got?
Number 16, I have the original Witchcraft.
Okay. And I'll just
It didn't change?
I'll go with you on that and say that is also my number 16. So that's my point. Our least favorite is the original movie.
Yes.
which
is probably the best made movie in the entire franchise.
Exactly. Objectively, anybody who watches the franchise will probably say that is the best movie, again, in an objective manner. I'm not saying personal favorite, most enjoyed, but it is the best made movie in the franchise. And it is literally our last place. So that just goes to show you how much we do like this franchise.
So in talking about the original starts everything, of course, and we get our lead character, which is Will Spanner. But Will Spanner is born in the beginning of the Witchcraft films.
Mm-hmm.
The first Witchcraft film. And the reason why it's last place with me is because it has a little bit of a pacing problem here and there.
Okay.
It's a slow burn, but it's an extremely well-made movie that, I mean, look, I watched it with you. It flew by. So if that's pacing problems, it still flew by. But I will say that the other ones kind of entertained me a little bit more. There was like more action. There was more sex. There was more beautiful women. So, it had more to grab onto, I guess.
And I think that's exactly what it is. I mean, one thing that you and I kept saying as we were watching them was like, wow, this is almost over. And we said that about all of them because they really are paced very well.
Yes, they are.
Some of them are short and some of them aren't. Some of them are hour and a half, So it's not as if like they're super short movies by any means. They're just really well paced. There's a lot going on. There's atmosphere in these movies, especially when we get into the 90s ones. The first Witchcraft movie came out in 1988.
Yep.
Part 2 came out in 89. When you get into the 90s sequels, these movies are so 90s.
Yeah, they are.
Just the way they look. I mean, when you think of the 90s, if you think of a low budget 90s horror film, it's Witchcraft.
Yep.
Just the way they look.
The clothing, the hairstyles,
that blue mist that's everywhere.
Yep.
You walk into a bar and there's blue mist. It's like, where is it coming from? It doesn't matter because it's cool. And those glass, the glass cubes.
Yep. I love them.
It's so 90s. But as for the first one, for me, same thing. Pacing problems, I guess. Just compared to the rest of the franchise.
Yeah.
I said this last year when I first reviewed it. I see it as sort of and again, not that it had a really low budget compared to the others, but a lower budget Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
It definitely seems almost inspired by that. There is some really cool visuals in that first one, like really good horror visuals. There's with the priest kill and all that, and there's some cool stuff in there. I remember watching it last year, when I was making my way through them, and I watched the first one obviously first, and I remember thinking, this is what these movies are. Like it kind of threw me off. Like I wasn't expecting the first one to be like that because I was expecting it to be more of what the sequels became.
Yeah.
So when I first watched it, I was like, this is interesting. Like I
Yeah.
wonder if I'm going to enjoy them the same way that I expected to. Not that I didn't enjoy the first one, but it was just in a different way. And then of course part 2 happened and everything's changed. But um one is definitely a movie you could watch as a standalone as well. You don't
Yeah.
really need, the sequel. So I just think it's important for anybody who hasn't watched them. If you watch part 1 and you kind of don't like it, don't stop
No.
because it gets different.
Here's the thing, and I'll even go out on a limb and do you one better, Joe. I
Mhm.
actually think you can watch every single movie as a one shot, except for 14 through 16.
15, 16. Yep.
Yeah. All of these work as one shots. You don't need to really know a whole lot
Uh,
because they kind of give you the characters as you go along.
I do think 7 and 9 need to go together.
Yeah, you're right about that. You're
But
right.
other than that, yeah.
Because of the major thing that
Well,
happens.
especially if you can watch 7 as a standalone, but you can't
Yeah.
watch 9 as a standalone.
Yeah. Well,
Well, you can watch any movie as a standalone, but I think going in, you're going to be really confused watching 9. The way it starts.
yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. I have to agree with you on that one.
Ghoul, Jason and I have talked about this because the last 3 came out in 2016,
Hmm.
which, it was 6 years ago. But with that being said, 14, 15, and 16 came out 8 years after 13. So there was an 8-year gap in between 13 and 14, which means, hey, anything's possible.
Right.
Um, I wish I had the capabilities to make one myself because I would make one right now because I just think they're so much fun and I think we should have some more witchcraft films. I would love to see it continue and go on and on and on and on.
I I have a feeling about that as well. I think if you talk to the right person, and by the right person I'm meaning the Sterling Company,
Hmm.
and you pitch a good enough idea, I think he would probably go for it if you have enough. Well, if you can, it, I hate to say it, but if you can bullshit your way past, I think it would be you could do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would want to make, and this is going to sound like a knock, but it's not. I would want to make better films. But that's
Yeah.
me. Yeah. I mean, that's just my personal thing. Although they are all entertaining, the series does take a little bit of a dip towards the end, and that's okay because they're still entertaining films.
And I also think about it. Part of that is budgetary,
Yes,
and
because of
that's
Sterling.
the thing at the beginning. I mean, the first, I don't know, 6, 7 even are really well made. I mean, they're well made films.
Yep.
I don't think people realize that who haven't seen them. I think they're just thinking, oh, these cheap, softcore porn movies. They're really so much more. They're really not that.
Yeah.
They're well made films with good stories and interesting characters, and they all try to offer something different, which is what I really like about them. Like it's not like the same thing over and over and over again. And don't get me wrong, I'm a huge slasher fan, but it's not watching, Jason kill more campers again and again and again. This does something different.
um, Mr. Bones. One of them has the hell is her name? Now I'm forgetting her name. The one that Battle Queen 2020.
Julie Strain?
Julie Strain. One of them has Julie Strain in it. Um, I'm trying to think if there's another one that has a semi like a star in it.
Well, so if you guys watch Joe Bob, Darcy the Mail Girl, Diana
Yes,
Prince,
yes.
she plays in one of them as well.
And if Brad is still here, she does get naked in the film.
Oh yeah, she's definitely naked in the film.
Well, when we watched Evil Bong, she was in the 8th Evil Bong, and she was the only one
I know
that
you
can
said
get
that,
naked
yeah.
in. Yeah.
Oh, of course, Brad, of course. All right, so our last place is the original Witchcraft. All right,
Yep.
so number 15, what do you got?
I have, this may be a bit of a surprise. I have Witchcraft 10, The Mistress of the Craft.
Yep, I'm right there with you. Same thing.
Are you kidding me?
Well, in my
Really?
defense, remember Mistress of the Craft, that was my last place last time I ranked them.
I
So
didn't. I didn't watch
so
your ranking again. I meant to, but I just
when
didn't
I
get it.
ranked when I ranked them last year, Witchcraft 10, Mistress of the Craft was in last place. And I mentioned in that ranking,
Okay.
you know, it doesn't mean that I disliked it. It was just the one that I sort of enjoyed the least at that time.
Right. Right.
This time, however, I liked it, I would say a lot more, despite only moving up one spot. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it a lot more than I enjoyed it the first time. And sometimes it's just the mood you're in. Sometimes it might have been watching it together. But I don't know. I appreciated it more this time. But go on, explain why you have it here at number 15.
Um, because it was basically the one I liked the least compared to the first one. I didn't think it had enough story to it.
Okay.
And seven, going from 7 to 9, and then to 10, if I remember correctly, and I have to check my cheat sheet here because I wrote everything down. I do believe you have a new Will Spanner.
Well,
If I
10,
remember correctly,
10 has no Will Spanner.
10 has new Will Spanner, and that's probably why I ranked it second to last.
This
So,
one is Lutz. I mean, it's just Lutz pretty much running the show.
the England one.
Yep.
Yeah, you're gonna have to spot me a little bit, Joe. The England one, which is a very entertaining film, but it didn't feel like the rest of them, and I think maybe it took me out of it just a little bit because it didn't have that witchcraft feel to it, except for having Lutz in it, which is Stephanie Beaton. So that's why it's pretty much where it is in my ranking.
Yeah, for me, again, what I really liked about it, and what I liked about it last time, was that it does take place in England. It's like a
Yes.
little, it takes you out of California for a bit. 8 is the only other one that does that with going to Salem, even though again it was actually filmed in California, whereas this one actually is in England. So it was a pretty cool idea to do that.
Let me ask you a question real quick, Joe. Did this have the terrible villain with the
Yeah,
spiky blonde hair?
I'm going to say that right now. So
That's another reason.
the villain in the villain in this one is not the best,
Right.
but with that being said, it's like when you watch a movie that's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
That watching this guy is entertainment because he's just that bad. And he in his defense, the guy's not an actor, he's a stuntman.
Right.
So for
You
whatever
did clue me
reason,
in on that.
they gave him this role as the big bad of this one.
Yeah.
One thing you guys should know about the witchcraft movies is like each of them sort of has like a new big bad. It's like playing a video game going to the next level.
Right.
And this guy is just arguably the worst villain in the franchise. Not because of what he does or anything like that, just because of his acting.
His acting's terrible.
It's just so bad.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things where it's so bad that it's entertaining. And that was something you and I commented on when we were watching it, which is what sort of made me like it more this time. Is one of those movies that this would be the perfect one for like an MSTK,
Yes.
Mystery Science Theater 3000 sort of thing. This would be perfect for that. Like to sit there and drink with friends and just sort of make fun of it. Oddly, Witchcraft 10, which is the one we're talking about, the VHS for this one seems to be like the rarest right now, or I should say at least the priciest when you try to buy it online. And I think that's because horror VHS fans like myself, for some reason, get like a kick out of having like these really bad movies on tape and watching them how they're meant to be watched and just making fun of them. So it just shows you that like 10 is this highly sought after Witchcraft sequel because it's so bad it's good.
You and I had a lot of fun with these, and that's kind of what I'm trying to recollect is what we talked about. And I remember telling you that he was close to one of the worst villains I've ever seen, which is, if any of you guys have seen 9 Deaths of the Ninja with Sho Kusugi, the villain in that is named, and I'm not actually kidding about this, it's called Honey Hump. And she is probably the worst villain I've ever seen in my life. But this guy comes pretty close. He's pretty bad.
Anything else for
No.
All right.
No. He's entertaining though. I will say he's entertaining.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's the thing. Even as our bottom sequel, because we had the original first, this is our least favorite sequel. Even as the least favorite sequel, it is an entertaining movie. It is a lot of fun. There's some really good stuff in it, along with the bad stuff. Like there are good elements to all of these, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think probably the way to watch this one would be uncut, so that way you can get Stephanie beaten naked.
Yeah, that was a big problem for me too. And I don't want to sound like a chauvinist pig or anything like that, but I always
No,
found her quite attractive.
just the prevert.
Yeah, I'm a prevert. I have always found her really attractive, and I was like, "Come on, man! She's in 4 of them, I think." I have my cheat sheet in the back, but she's in a few of them as her character, and I was I was joking around with Joe, and I said, "If she doesn't get naked, I'm out." And she didn't, but I kept watching them anyway. So
she's in 9, 10, and 11.
Yeah, 3 of them.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Wow.
All right, what do you got for number 14?
Number 14, I have Witchcraft 12, and that is In the Lair of the Serpent.
And once again, we have the same one.
Really?
Yep.
Now, I really like the story to this one. The whole thing with the snakes and all that kind of stuff, I thought that was really cool.
Awesome villain. Yep.
Yes, awesome villain. This probably had, if I remember correctly, one of the most wooden spanners.
This is the comedian spanner.
Yeah. Okay.
He's not bad.
Eh.
He's not one of my favorites, but he's not bad compared to
this.
So this is the one that's directed by Brad Sykes.
Ah, that's it.
The Will Spanner in this one is played by a stand-up comedian in real life. He's not awful, but he's just not Will Spanner.
Right.
If that makes sense, you know what I mean? The wooden one you're thinking of is another one we haven't got to yet. I know.
Yeah.
This guy, he's pretty fun. He's animated and stuff. He's a good like character. He just doesn't feel like the Will Spanner we know and love at this point. But yeah, what else do you want to say about 12?
That's probably about it.
12 has the cool. I like 12. 12 did drop for me this time around, only because I wouldn't say it dropped. I'm going to say that other movies just jumped, if that makes sense, you know? So because I like some other movies more, some of the others just kind of, they didn't necessarily go down. They just sort of stayed where they are while others climbed above them. So 12, I do enjoy it. I had it higher last time. This time, it's one of, again, the later entries. Once you hit after you get to like 10, it starts getting a little bit different in quality, the way they're filmed and whatnot, because of when they were done. This was a 2002 film, so it just starts to look a little different. You do got a really good villain. The villain reveal is what's really cool about this one.
Yes.
Because the villain.
You want to spoil it?
I don't, because I do want people to see it, and I think it's kind of a cool to see the reveal. But the villain in this one wears a cool mask the whole time.
Yes.
And then at the end, when the mask comes off and you see who the villain is, it's like, whoa, no, that's cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a really good reveal. That's the huge payoff. And I honestly think that's why I had it higher last time, because when I first saw it, I was like, damn, that got me, you know?
One of the problems I have with this, and this is what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to like read the plot, because we watch these so close that some of them get jumbled up. My problem with this one is the fact that they were taking, and you had mentioned this earlier, they had girls that were taking men and basically enticing them with sex and sacrificing them to the big baddie. I don't want to give it away.
Yeah, the villain.
Yeah, the villain. I don't want to give it away. And while I really like the story, I like the sign of the snake, I like the detective part of the story. My problem with it was it looked a little cheap in spots.
And it was.
Yeah. It's one of the cheaper entries. So that's where I am. I figured I had to do this now, Joe.
What's that?
I'm with you.
And another thing, the issue that I have with that one is it seems to sort of ignore some of the other elements. Like, why have the new detective when you could have had like a Lutz or a Garner in that one?
Yes.
And they didn't. Yes. It almost seems like they didn't watch some of the previous entries. They only watched like some. And a lot of the sequels are better than others at doing that, of actually following the story. And it doesn't take anything away from it, because it doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense. They just happen, Lutz and Garner just happen to not be in this one. That's fine. We don't know every single person Will Spanner has ever met in his life. So
Yeah,
just because he has these friends doesn't mean that we had to see them in the past. It's just they came out of nowhere, you know?
but they've been kind of a staple of the series. So
Exactly.
when up from that point on, they've been a staple of the series and an established character. And when they're not in there, you're kind of like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Yeah. And
So yeah,
if you're going to have detective characters, why not just have it be them then? You know,
yeah,
like why create all new detective characters?
I agree
Um,
completely.
hey Alex. So yeah, so that's number 14 for us, which is Witchcraft 12 in the Lair
Yep.
of the Serpent. So what do you got at number 13?
Number 13, I have Witchcraft 7, Judgment Hour.
Okay, so we have a different one now, finally.
Okay. This one. All right. This is okay. This is about personal taste for me. This is with vampires.
Yep, this is the
The
vampire
bad
one.
people were vampires,
Hmm.
and I am not a huge vampire fan. So,
Hmm.
where I wanted to see more witchcraft happening, it was more vampire stuff happening.
Yeah, this is like a vampire movie.
Yeah, more or
Yeah.
less. And it's also, I don't want to spoil it. It's also, help me out, Joe. Will Spanner.
Mm.
One of my favorite characters goes down,
Okay.
so that's
Okay.
why it's there.
Here, here's why you're ranking this too low though. Witchcraft 7 has by far the most nudity in the entire franchise.
Well, let me piggyback on what you're saying here. And this is just a general thing that I'm saying.
Yeah.
Even the older ones, like in '89 when they did the Temptress,
Mhm.
these have probably the most beautiful women.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I mean, there's very few busted women in this
Exactly.
in these
Exactly.
movies, for
It's
lack of
good.
a better word.
It's good nudity, as I've mentioned in my videos before. There's good nudity, and then there's bad nudity. Sometimes there's people you don't want to see.
Yeah,
For the most part, it's good nudity in these movies.
yeah.
It's women that you want to see.
I'm not a big fan of vampires, and
No, that makes sense. I get it.
I don't know. That's just where I differ, I guess, with this
I'll
one.
I'll talk about it more when I get to it and talk about why I have it higher. But I can
Yeah.
understand, with you not being a vampire fan, why this one would be low for you.
I was just like, I just wanted to see more magic. I wanted to see, I didn't want to see Will Spanner take on vampires. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, like I said, I'll talk about it when I get to
Yeah.
it.
What do you have for number
13.
13, Joe?
I have Witchcraft 4, The Virgin Heart.
What?
Yes.
Wow. All right.
So this is the one with Julie Strain. It is sort of a film noir of the Witchcraft franchise with the music and everything like that. And don't get me wrong, I like it. It did make it higher than last time. Last time I had it in third to last. Now it's fourth to last for me.
I'm really surprised.
So it did jump a spot. It's bittersweet because it's good because Charles Solomon Jr., who plays Will Spanner in
Yep.
parts 2, 3, and 4, he's Will Spanner in part 4, but it sucks because this is his last appearance as Will Spanner.
Yeah, but he
So
did a real good job in this one, I thought.
I think he does a good job in all of them. Yeah, he
Me
does. He
too.
really
Me too.
does. And I think for some reason, and this is exactly what I said last time, this one is the most forgettable for me, and it was again this time.
Really?
Last year when I watched it, I couldn't remember like the villain aspect of it. Like I couldn't even picture who the villain was.
Yeah.
I remember now because we just watched it, and now I've seen it for the second time. But for some reason, it just doesn't resonate as much as the others do.
Wow.
I think it needed a more memorable villain.
I was fine with Julie Strain.
Well, I'm talking about the other guy, though. You know what I mean?
know.
Like I like the whole the coven, the rock club. I think that's cool. It's a cool
Yeah.
setting for it. Julie Strain is obviously naked through half the thing.
Of course.
I have to say, well, rest in peace to her, first of all.
Yeah.
But she is really good looking in this movie.
Yes.
Seriously, like she just has like this really like almost. It's funny to say because she's naked so much in the role she plays, but she has more of like this innocent, womanly look in this movie.
Yep.
Like just very, very pretty in this, and
Beautiful. Beautiful.
that's definitely a huge positive for this the positive spin aspect of this. But
Yep.
there's a lot to love about it. Like I said, I mean, I really do love this franchise, and this is number 13 out of 16. But I really do like it, but I just like the other sequels more. They're just more memorable for me. They tend to stick with me more. I think about the others more often. This one is just, I don't know. And the sound is a big deal with this one. Whoever the sound guy was on part 4,
Yeah.
there are scenes you almost can't even hear them because they're walking away from the camera, and there's like no boom mic apparently, because as they're walking away, they're gradually getting quieter and quieter and quieter, and sometimes you can't even hear the lines.
Can I just say that where it is in mine, it probably would have been a lot higher had that not happened. Because I think it takes you out of the film a little bit, the sound and all.
It does.
But yeah.
All right. What do you got for number 12?
Number 12, I have Witchcraft 9.
Thanks, Brad. Hell yeah, she is.
What do you say?
That's awful thing to say, but
Brad, Brad loves Julie Strain.
He loves Julie Strain is so hot, even dead.
Oh yeah, that's harsh. Okay, I have Witchcraft 9.
Brad, she looks really good in this.
Yes, she does. Gorgeous.
All right, so you have Bitter Flesh, Witchcraft 9 for number 12, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that kind of makes sense because it goes with Judgment Hour.
Yeah.
Having them back to back makes sense. It's interesting that you put Bitter Flesh above Judgment Hour.
I thought it was a better film.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was a better film. Even though, and this is going to be hard to explain without spoiling stuff, they took away one of my favorite characters in 7, but the character came back kind of in 9.
Yeah.
More or less.
I do agree with you that this is the better film. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And plus he's
hi.
Yeah. Okay, our lead character is a ghost. I'm just gonna have to say it because there's no other way for me to explain it. Our lead character is a ghost, and he's actually able to speak to a prostitute in order to solve the crime, and she's kind of his.
This is the ghost. This is the ghost of witchcraft.
Exactly.
So if you've seen the movie Ghost, where Patrick Swayze has to go through Whoopi Goldberg to get to Demi Moore.
Yep.
You know, she's the only one who can hear him. In this, Will Spanner, who is our main character, he's a warlock. You know, he's been alive through all the 7 films.
Yep.
He dies in part 7. You know, it doesn't really matter because if you watch,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to spoil anything, but I mean, you kind of can't explain why.
He's a warlock, so who gives a shit that he comes back? He dies in 7. You know, 8 is like our standalone movie, and then in 9 he returns, and he's actually the same actor who plays him in 7, which is like a big thing because it doesn't happen often through the film.
I think that's cool, and I think that's one of the reasons why I liked it more is because they brought that guy back.
And it's also the same director of 7 and 9.
Paul Michael Gerard
or whatever it is.
Gerard, yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's yours. So if you can continue if you have any more to say, I'll talk about more when I get to mine.
I liked the story. I thought it was cool that he was able to communicate with because I wasn't really sure where it was going to end up going because, like I said, Will Spanner was killed in part 7.
Yeah.
8 was our standalone. 9 is when he came back, and I was like, okay. I thought maybe they didn't kill him, and they were just going to continue the story from there. But he actually came back as a ghost, and I like what they did with the story.
I think it
was a lot of fun.
They made it work.
Yeah,
like
they did.
It could have been like stupid, like, oh, this is dumb, but it actually works.
It does. What's your number 12?
My number 12 is Witchcraft 14, Angel of Death.
Interesting.
So this is the first movie of the final trilogy.
Yes.
14, 15, and 16 were all made at the same time. They were all released at the same time. They all go together. I mean, you could watch them as one giant film practically. It has like the same actors and the same characters. It really is like a trilogy. It's like it starts and ends. It's pretty complete.
Even characters that they killed off, they kind of bring back as a part of the end, which is a really neat idea. I don't want to give that away, but it's a really cool idea.
So Witchcraft 14 for me was second to last time I ranked them.
Really?
Yep. I had Witchcraft 10 last, and then I had Witchcraft 14 Angel of Death.
Okay.
It wasn't that I didn't like it. It was just
that's where it fell.
I watched it. That's where it fell. It didn't like blow me away by any means, but I was like, okay, this is interesting. It's starting something. It's starting that new trilogy. Right. So I think I sort of had to watch the others to appreciate it more. And like for example, other than 10 is usually like the lowest rated out of the entire franchise.
Yeah.
The second lowest rated is usually Witchcraft 15, which obviously follows 14.
Right.
And so going into 15, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be one of the worst according to everybody. And then I ended up liking 15 more, which
so did I.
Obviously, based on my ranking right now, you know that I have it ranked higher. Right. So it was just one of those things where I think because I liked 15 and 16 more, 14 just sort of dropped to where it is.
Yeah.
Nothing really bad I can say about it. I mean, Will Spanner in 14, 15, and 16 is probably my least favorite Will Spanner.
Oh no, that's without a doubt. I like the baby better than
yeah. So that's sort of, but again, it's
it tells a different story too.
There are things about him that make it entertaining in a different way. He's a fun one to make fun of.
Yeah.
And like, his acting abilities, and he comes across as like a Chris Angel character, Chris Angel mind freak.
Mascara.
A fucking eyeliner and stuff. Like he looks nothing like Will Spanner should look. He acts nothing like Will Spanner should act.
Nope.
But he's there, and at least they brought that character back.
They did, but they put him in the back seat, and I hate to say it, but they put him in the back seat where he belongs.
In this trilogy, yes,
yeah,
exactly.
They did.
14 also introduces us to Rose.
Yep.
Who I think is super good looking.
Yes.
So she was like a really nice addition. She's sort of the final girl of this trilogy. I think she did well. I liked her in the role.
I did too.
I really like Lutz. I think Lutz is great in this trilogy. Obviously,
and Garner.
Garner too. They have a good like chemistry, a good back and forth.
They do.
But Lutz is a scene stealer for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Because of how she looks, she's good looking as well. But also because I think she's one of the best actresses in this trilogy.
No doubt.
So she really does stand out. Amongst these actors and actresses.
Yep.
So yeah, I have Witchcraft 14, Angel of Death at number 12. What do you got at number 11?
Well, let me piggyback on you here because I have Witchcraft 14, Angel of Death.
Look at that.
At number 11.
Okay.
Everything you just said was basically spot on. I was not a fan of Will Spanner, but like we just said, he got kind of put in the back seat at this point.
Yeah.
My only other drawback to the series, of course, and you know how I feel about this, is Shannon. Shannon drove me crazy. This is the story in 14, 15, and 16 goes to a yoga studio that is actually a witch's coven. And one of the leaders of the witch's coven, or at least that's what you think, is this blonde that teaches classes there. And she is a terrible actress, and she's annoying. But it's not enough to take you out of the film because the story is actually good.
Yeah.
And you and I both thought that the yoga studio acting as a coven, and you do find out more about what's going to happen with that coven and the yoga studio and everything else further along down the line. And I think we both thought that was a really solid idea for...
It's very clever.
For witchcraft. Very clever.
It's a yoga studio, and the coven they only practice white magic. That's like the key. It's like a place where they can go and practice their magic safely without anybody sort of infiltrating and doing anything evil. Sharon is pretty annoying. but it's more the actress than the
Yeah,
character.
it
You
is.
know, she just looks like she's either high all the time or she's gonna fall asleep.
Yep.
She just has like this look to her, like I don't know, I don't know. To point out a positive, she does get naked. I said that to Jason while we are watching him. I'm like, well, at least she gets naked. But it's like,
Yeah, we have
other than
that.
that, it's I almost wish she didn't have as big of a role.
Well, she doesn't in 14. She gets a bigger role in 15 and
In
16.
15, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do have Rose taking on that big role in 14, which I'm happy with. So
Right.
that is that good contrast. So I'm okay with it. And then even Tara, I mean, the Gap and all,
Yes.
she's all right.
Gappy. Gappy.
So that's number 11 for you, right?
Yep. What is your number 11?
So my number 11 is Witchcraft 15, Blood Rose. And again, it's because these two just go together. I mean,
Yes, they do.
they really do. This again, like I just said, a lot of people consider this to be the second worst in the entire franchise.
I disagree.
I completely disagree,
Yeah.
obviously, since I have it at number 11 here.
Right.
I really liked it. I liked it the first time, and
Mhm.
I liked it even more this time. I think I have it even higher than I did last time. Um, this one takes on sort of the sort of like a witchcraft scanners, and it's sort of like a witchcraft Freaky Friday or
Yep.
Freaky, the horror movie version. Whereas like the some of the witches start using like body swapping, like they swap their souls with different bodies. So you have one character who's in another character's body, and that character is in the other character's body. So like they're swapped, which is a
Yep.
kind of a cool concept because the evil one is controlling the good one and causing these deaths to happen. And another big positive for 15 for me is Darcy the Male Girl, Diana Prince,
Of
is in
course.
this
Of
one.
course.
She plays a hooker.
Yep.
She's pretty much naked through the whole thing. I really like her in this. I like
I
her
do too.
anyway. I mean, I like her as Darcy the Male Girl. I hear, like I said, I've like I was telling Jason, I hear she's a complete sweetheart in real life. She's like a big horror nerd like us. So she's just a cool person in general. So seeing her in something is always cool. But I actually
Yeah.
feel like she was pretty good in this, and she looks really good in this.
Yes, she does.
I mean, she does. She looks really pretty. It's like kind of what we said about Julie Strain. She
Yep.
just looks really good. I mean, for actresses who are known to have work done, surgeries and stuff like that, sometimes they don't always look their best. I gotta say, she looks really good in this.
Yeah, she
Um,
does.
and I like her in. I like how she delivers her lines. She just, I don't know. She just, I think she plays the part well. It's a
Yep.
small role, but not like I remember saying this last year in my video. It's not as small of a role as I thought. It's a bigger role than I thought it would be, but it's not a huge role, if that makes sense. It's not
Yep.
just a cameo. She has a significant role. It's just, yeah, it was good to see her in this. She's definitely a big positive for me.
She's actually not that bad an actress either,
She's not.
because, like I said, when
Yeah.
Brad and I watched Evil Bong 8,
Mhm.
she played the hostess for the restaurant that they were coming into, and I thought she did a good job. I wasn't as impressed at what she looked like in that as I was in Witchcraft,
Yep, she looks, yeah, she
but
does. She looks good. She
she
does a
does.
good job with the role.
Yep.
So yeah, it's number 11 for me. Witchcraft 15, Blood Rose.
So number 10 for me would be Witchcraft 15.
15, Blood Rose.
Yeah, Blood Rose. We have like a one
Yeah.
little differential in there, and it's for basically everything that you just said. I thought the story was a little bit better. My only drawback was they gave Shannon a bigger part in this, but I will say that when she swapped bodies with Rose, I
Sharon is
thought
his
that
name.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I kind of forgiven it. I forgave it a little bit. I
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of warmed to her a little as it went along.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I really enjoyed 15.
Yeah.
So, and it's supposed to be, you said, the second worst rated one?
Yeah. Yeah. So Witchcraft 10 is usually has the lowest rating, and then Witchcraft 15 has the second lowest rating.
Yeah.
But I don't see it. I mean, I think it's pretty well done. Especially for something that's supposed to be like a bridge film in a way, because it really does kind of tie 14
Yeah.
and 16 together. I think it does a really good job.
I do too. Plus, I like the whole, as you were talking about before, the whole scanners thing
Yeah.
with it. That was fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun. All right, Joe, what do you have for number 10?
One thing first, talking about Blood Rose. It also introduces a character that you liked, that other girl. What's her name? You know, the other, like the third roommate. She kind of she made
Yeah.
you laugh a lot.
Yeah, she did.
This is her introduction into it, and she was
Yeah,
funny. She had some funny lines in that.
she did. She was kind of.
And she's another one who's naked half the movie. So
Oh yeah, the bitchy roommate. I thought she
yeah,
was funny. I liked her.
she was just trying to find someone to have sex with her boyfriend the entire time.
Pretty much. That was pretty much her entire goal, which I thought was funny.
All right,
I didn't
number
even know she had powers up until it gets
yeah,
further along in the
yeah,
movie.
she's one of the witch. Yeah, she's one of the witches.
Yeah. I thought they
Um,
just let her in just to let her in. I don't know.
Number 10 for me is Witchcraft 9 Bitter Flesh.
Not too far off the beat. Yeah, not
So
too far.
I have this one here. This one I have to say is one that I think about a lot.
Do you really?
I really like the story. Like you were saying, everything that you said about it, like I like the whole how this is basically like the ghost of the Witchcraft franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally is dead, walking around, trying to find a way to get to his girlfriend Kelly
Really?
because he
Yeah.
wants to protect her. What's cool about 9, and I don't think we mentioned this when you mentioned it. I don't 9 takes place the same fucking day as part 7 and then the day after. It
Yep.
literally continues exactly where part 7 left off.
Right.
Even though you had part 8 in between, is literally like you can watch 7 and 9 together as like one big movie if you just
Yeah.
watch them back to back. And I think that's really cool. You have the same guy returning playing Will Spanner. You have Lutz and Gardner again. But yeah, Will's just walking around like aimlessly trying to figure out what the hell is going on because nobody can see him, no one can hear him.
Yeah.
And then it's a prostitute that hears him, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Holy shit!" And he basically takes advantage of that, asks for help, and
Well, she asked for help too. So
he helps her in a way, so
yeah.
she helps him. And I think about like the whole like art gallery at the beginning, like the way it looks. I don't know, it looks cool. It's a cool location.
Yeah, it is.
Her like studio apartment, oddly way it is, that looks cool. I like how her apartment is.
Yeah.
I really like the setting in this one. The reveal is not surprising, but it's kind of cool that they went with what they did with the villain in this one.
Yeah.
I like this is the Egyptian one. This one has Egyptian ties. This is the Egyptian evil in Witchcraft, which again I appreciate this franchise because it likes to do things differently in sort of in each sequel. Like
Well,
it brings in
tries to keep it at least a little bit fresh.
yeah, it brings in there might be witches in one, a warlock in another, a lizard god in another, a Egyptian sacrifices in another, vampires. It does all this different stuff. There are some that play out sort of like a slasher, so it does different things
Yep.
in this franchise. And 9 does this Egyptian horror, these sort of Egyptian ritualistic killings.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fun. Will Spanner is an interesting Will Spanner. He's
Grows facial hair.
I don't I don't dislike him. He also plays an intruder, the 1989 slasher film.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some cool elements in this. I like that a villain is using Will Spanner's body.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend Kelly doesn't know that, so she thinks it's just Will and that he's still alive.
Yep.
And meanwhile, the ghost of Will Spanner is trying to protect her from being hurt by this other spirit who is using his body. And
while trying to protect the only person
the
that can see him.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the prostitute is the only one who can hear him, and he's protecting her while she helps him.
Yep.
And then, of course, at one point, it goes straight ghost, and he literally jumps into her body and uses her body to make contact. It's pretty fucking awesome. It's a really cool storyline. I think it's well made. I like 9 a lot. It just happens to be number 10 for me. All right, what do you got for number 9?
This is going to be a tough one. I have Witchcraft 13, Blood of the Coven.
Blood of the Chosen.
Blood of the Chosen? Yes. Oh, I can't read my own handwriting. Oh, that's because, okay, Coven, Hollywood Coven. Okay.
Yeah.
I read the wrong thing.
I agree, Ghoul. Exactly.
Okay, this one had probably the most ties to any of the witchcraft films, and this is probably where I'm not saying it should have ended because I like 14, 15, and 16, but it kind of brought everything full circle.
I'm gonna say I'm surprised this is this low for you.
Yeah, yeah,
When we watched this, you actually said this is probably gonna end up in my top 5.
I thought so.
And we're at number 9 here, right?
I know, I thought so, but there's when I'm looking at my list, I'm looking at what we've already watched,
Uh-huh.
and I'm ranking them as I do it. And then I'm like, well, Charles, the guy who plays the first,
Charles Solomon Jr.
yeah, nothing can beat him as far as I'm concerned.
He is Will Skinner.
Even the one that you can barely hear, and that's just even though it took me out. If that hadn't been like that, it would have been a lot higher. But I don't want to get into all that yet. Witchcraft 13, like I said, it brings everything full circle, and it just kind of where it fell.
Okay.
Where it fell. It was a step higher,
mm-hmm.
but it went down because of my number.
Yeah, I kind of know.
8. Yeah. You know what my number 8, well, you probably know what my number 8 is, and I probably know what your next one's going to be. Probably.
All right. So my number 9 is Witchcraft 7, Judgment Hour.
Really?
Yep. So I did the same as you. I have Bitter Flesh and Judgment Hour together. I just have them swapped.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like you had Bitter Flesh above Judgment Hour.
Yeah.
I'm putting Judgment Hour above Bitter Flesh. I do agree with you that Bitter Flesh is objectively the better film.
Yeah.
But Judgment Hour is so batshit fucking crazy.
It is.
Like, it is a wild movie. I mean, when we watched it, I remember you saying that. Like, you were like, this is just batshit crazy. Like, you got the vampires. You have some
non-stop sex.
Really pretty fun creature effects. I mean, the vampire turns into like this bat creature, which is pretty cool. You have, like you said, non-stop sex and nudity in this one.
Yeah.
I mean, like full frontal shit. Like this is like fucking nudity of the nudity. This is the first movie where you have Lucy Lutz, where you have Lutz as a female. Even though it's not Stephanie Beaton yet, it's your first female Lutz.
She wasn't bad. She wasn't bad.
She wasn't, no. I do like this one. I don't know. I like the vampire thing. I'm not a huge vampire fan either, but I like how it was done in this one. I like the opening. It's at like that, it's like at the club, and the girls with the vampire, and he's pouring like the milk on her and nipples and everything else, and it's like this like sensual scene, but it does seem like very vampiric, if you will. It's you know what I mean, just the way it is. It's almost like a graveyard shift. It's sort of the vibe that it gives me, and I kind of like that because it's that 90s like vampire film. Like neon lights and again the mist and the the blue colors and this and that, and I like that about it. It's the death of Will Spanner, which when I first watched it, I was like, holy shit, now what?
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I ranked it so low.
I mean, and then it literally ends with the vampire falling into fucking Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. It's just like it's just batshit crazy. It's one of those movies again. If you're not entertained by this, then just fucking stop.
Yeah,
because it's like,
it is entertaining.
You can't not be entertained by this movie. It's just so wild. So that's why I gave that one just the edge over Bitter Flesh. Again, I do think Bitter Flesh is the better film. I love the concept in Bitter Flesh, but Judgment Hour is just wild, and I understand why Trauma. That was one of the ones that Trauma released because it's such a trauma.
Definitely.
Again, with that nudity and stuff in that one is just.
Oh yeah.
If you're a fan of gratuitous nudity in movies, well, Witchcraft 7 is the one to watch.
It's very low budget, and I think that's why I placed where it did, because kind of don't want to say this because I don't want to knock it, but the vampire teeth, you could tell that they were fake. And you're not supposed to be able to tell that. I mean, that's like Vampire 101. So I don't know. That's kind of where it ended up on mine, but I do like the film, and it is very, very entertaining. There was actually sex for no reason at all. It's like, it's just there. So it's like, I'm just going to pull you in the other room, and that's it. It had no bearing on the story. And I kind of dug it. I thought it was fun.
All right. Number 8. I think we might have the same. What do you got?
For number 8, I have Witchcraft 16.
Yep.
Hollywood Coven.
Yep. Same thing for me. So we can kind of just discuss this one together.
Here's the thing. I wanted to rank this so much higher, Joe. You have no idea.
I'm sure.
I think this is one of the most creative witchcraft films I've seen.
Yep.
Let
me point out, before you go any further, guys, anybody in the chat watching, we're talking about Witchcraft 16.
Yeah.
The final film of the franchise so far.
I know.
Number 16. And we're talking about how creative it is, how clever it is, how awesome of an ending it is so far. Just how awesome of a sequel it is in general. So the fact that this is the 15th sequel, the 16th movie overall in the franchise, and we still think this highly of it, goes to show you that anybody who's calling this the worst franchise ever is full of
exactly. 100%.
When you can do that many movies and still be this original for part 16, I mean,
well, let's be honest. I mean, 8's completely original.
Yep.
7 and 9 are completely original to the other parts of the series. 14 through 16 is a completely different story where it's a fucking yoga coven.
Yep.
I just think it's brilliant. But 16 really got me.
So, yeah, 16.
I knew 16 it got you too.
16 is my favorite of that trilogy, obviously, since we both ranked it the highest of those 3. Even the first time, I had this pretty high last time, and I mean, this is fairly high. I'd say, this time too.
Did you rank it higher last time or lower?
I think it may have been around the same spot, to be honest.
Okay.
It might have been 7 or 8 last time. But it's 8 here. It's 8 this time, so it's in that same area. It might have been maybe 7 last time, but again, not because it's dropped, just because there's one that I know was lower than it last time that I bumped up.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know. I really like 16.
16 opens with a big, like, haha.
A big fuck
not
you.
Even, not in like a bad way to like fuck you to the audience, but like in a like, we got ya. Like, here you go. Where you're left sitting there like, wait a minute, what's happening here? And then it's like, oh, damn, this is what they're doing. And but again, in a good way, you're like hooked from that opening scene. It's like, here we go.
What the hell are they going to do next? And
brilliant.
They pull out every single stop in this film.
I remember telling you before we got to 16, I'm like, wait. I kept telling you how impressed I was with the final film in the franchise.
You did. and I'm glad you didn't say anything more than that, because
no, I wasn't going to spoil
it completely blew my mind,
because you're not expecting it at all.
No.
And it's just
then as the movie goes along, the reveal at the end, you're not expecting that either.
Yes, and then it hits you again. You're like,
blew me away.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yep. So number 8, Hollywood Covens.
I really wanted to rank that higher, Joe. I really did, but I just couldn't justify putting it above
exactly
some of the other ones
for me. I think I could have swapped with the next one for me, but either way, I'm happy with where it is right now.
Well, let's go with that, because I may have been able to do that too, but there's a couple of reasons why I didn't feel right doing it. My number 8.
Nope, number 7.
No, number 7. My number 7 is Witchcraft 4, The Virgin Heart.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to start out by saying this has the worst sound I've ever heard. Well, no, it doesn't have the worst sound I've ever heard. It has one of the worst sounds I've ever heard. And it does take you out of the film. But I will say that if that had not been the case, this would have been in my top 3.
Yeah, I can see that for you. I know you really enjoyed it when we watched it.
Because of Julie Strain and because of the noir sort of storyline, I fucking loved it.
I mean, even the music that went with it was film noir music.
Yes. I loved it. I just thought it was great.
Yeah. And again, so there you go. That goes back to our point of it doing something unique in all the movies. It literally has a film noir sequel.
Yep.
Like, how many horror franchises can say that they do that,
Yeah, and the whole thing about this is the rock musicians selling their souls to the devil and all that kind of stuff, and the devil coming back to collect. So it's a really cool entry. Very cool entry. And Julie Strain. I mean, come on.
That's number 7 for you.
Number 7, yeah.
All right. Number 7,
Number 7
I
for
have,
you?
like I said, and this I could have swapped with Hollywood Coven. And actually, I think that's what I did last time. I think last time these two were reversed.
Okay.
So my number 7 this time is Witchcraft 13, Blood of the Chosen.
It wasn't too much different.
It was swapped with you, really, for the where Coven was in Chosen. You had Coven above Chosen. I have Chosen above Coven.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one I did put higher this time, probably like a spot higher than I did last time, because again, I'm just really impressed, and I know I said this when you and I were watching it, that this movie just gave a fuck.
It did.
Not to say that the others didn't, but you can tell
it gave more of a fuck than the other ones.
You can tell that the filmmakers with this one literally watched like all 12 of the previous Witchcraft movies and used stuff from them to kind of bring the franchise full circle. Also, the guy who plays Will Spanner in this one is my second favorite Will Spanner next to Charles Solomon. I think he comes the closest. See, I think the thing is with Charles Solomon.
Yes.
Charles Solomon, the first Will Spanner we see is a baby in the first movie, so he doesn't really count. In part 2, when we first see Will Spanner as a teenager and then an adult in 3 and 4, yeah, we'll get to that. Charles Solomon Jr. is basically the one who develops that character. He's who we know as Will Spanner.
Yeah.
And I think the guy who plays him in 13 does the best job of playing that type of Will Spanner. Like if they put this guy following Charles Solomon, I wouldn't have really batted an eye. Like it's not jarring at all. Like it's like, okay, I can see him following up Charles Solomon.
I can see that.
He has like that sort of laid back kind of attitude, but then when he gets pissed off, he kind of goes out. He goes off a little bit, and that's kind of what Charles Solomon brought to the character. Like he doesn't want to be fucking bothered, but then when he is, it's like, all right, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And just to emphasize on that, some of it kind of gets lost in translation, but Will Spanner ends up being an attorney.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I liked about this one as well, is that, like you said, he could have just walked into the part after Charles Solomon Jr. and been fine. But I like that it focused a little bit more on the legality of things than just the witchcraft itself.
Yep.
Like you could definitely tell where Charles Solomon kind of cemented the fact that he was an attorney, even though they changed what his major was. It's like not his major, but
well, he went from a defense attorney
to divorce.
Well, no, he was defense in part 3.
Okay, and then divorce.
Then he became a divorce attorney,
right?
And then he was a fucking tax attorney, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Also, I want to go back for a second because we failed to mention in the final trilogy, which ties into 13. Something I also appreciate about 14, 15, and 16 is they literally bring in scenes from the previous Witchcraft film.
Yes.
And they use them. And I'm not going to spoil why, especially in part 16. I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah.
But they do something really cool with the previous Witchcraft films. And I love that they did that because, again, it also feels like 14, 15, and 16 gave a shit.
Yep.
But 13, it really is. It's that movie again. You're part 13 in a long running franchise, and you come out. This one came out 6 years after part 12. So you have a movie that literally went back and looked at these other sequels and looked at the original and said, you know what, we can capitalize on this and we can bring some of this stuff back.
Yep.
It answers some questions you might have watching the franchise, like for example, when the character of Lutz and the character of Garner are first introduced, they're both male cops. And then in the following film, Lutz is a female. And you're kind of just like, oh, really? They just made her a female?
Yeah.
But part 13 solves the issue. And I'm not going to say why, because I want to leave some stuff.
Yeah.
But it actually acknowledges that and explains to you what you missed.
Yeah.
It also goes into other details about things like about Lutz going to England in part 10. It actually mentions that. It talks about specifics in these other sequels. So you can tell that, again, the filmmakers watched these other sequels and that they were literally trying to follow, like, and make it canon, make it fit the rest of the movies that came before it. And that's really what I appreciate about 13. I think it does a good job. It really feels like an older Witchcraft movie. Like it does a good job of doing that. Like, it brings you sort of back to that 90s Witchcraft. series of movies. And yeah, I really appreciate that. I appreciated it last time, but I think I appreciated it even more this time. So
Yeah,
that's
I
why
appreciate
I
it a
bumped it
lot
up a
too.
spot. So it's number 7 for me this time.
And I have a feeling I'm going to like that one more as I go along.
Yeah.
Um,
Number
we're at
6.
number 6. For 6, I have Witchcraft 3: The Kiss of Death.
I'm glad. You know what? I'm glad because that's where mine is too.
Really?
Yep, I have it here. Last time I had this as my number 2.
Really?
And again, it's not to say that this one necessarily dropped. There's just others that I bumped up because I liked them more this time.
Yeah. This is the life force of witchcraft films.
Yes, it is.
Kiss of Death. Okay.
Witchcraft 3: The Kiss of Death. Once again, we have Charles Solomon Jr.
Yes.
playing Will Spanner. This is the
Yep.
first time we're seeing him as an adult in the movie, even though he plays an adult. Even though he's an adult in part 2, he's playing a teenager.
Yes.
In part 3, he's actually adult Will Spanner. I know I said to you while we were watching 2. It's funny though because he comes across as a teenage, despite looking like he's a 40-year-old guy in part 2.
Yeah.
He still plays off as if he is a teenager.
I like that though.
Whereas in part 3, he does seem like he's years older, and it's only a year or 2 later. So he
Well,
does a
it's
good
because he's
job
an
with that.
attorney and he's
He does a good job.
successful.
Yeah,
And
but I'm
yeah,
saying, you know what I mean? He does a good job. He
yeah,
plays a young guy well, and then he's able to make himself seem like he's significantly older in the third one.
yeah.
But go ahead. What do you want to say about 3?
Like I said, it's the life force of the
Witchcraft franchise.
Witchcraft series. I like the villain. I thought that the villain kind of almost seemed, you kind of felt sorry for him in the beginning.
It's an
And
interesting
I
villain.
actually, and this is going to sound really weird, but as he was dismantling Will's life, I kind of still felt sorry for him, which is something I don't normally feel when we're watching the witchcraft films because the villains they're pretty good for the most part. But this one just had basically it's a young guy who is a witch as well.
Warlock,
And a warlock, a warlock. And he doesn't want to use his gifts the way Will does for good. He wants to use them for bad and to kind of get what he wants. It's a very juvenile approach to being a warlock.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one thing I was like, somebody needs to take him out and beat his ass.
In a way, though, he's how can I explain this? He's a warlock, but in a way, he's realistic because I feel like realistically, someone might act like that with powers.
Exactly.
Which in a way also makes him a scary villain in a way because it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like I don't know. Maybe think of something like a movie like say like Fatal Attraction, where someone comes into your life and just starts fucking ruining it.
Yep.
And you can't really prove it without giving away too much. You know what I mean about yourself. Yep. So you're kind of forced to just like face it and like try to deal with it on your own. And that's kind of what this guy comes across as. He comes across as like this charming young guy.
He does.
You know, he's getting in close with Will's girlfriend at the time.
Yep.
And he's just sort of like invading Will's life and infecting it. And it's kind of scary because again, it's like to outsiders, he looks like this charming guy that everybody wants to like and be friends with, but he's fucking ruining his life. And that makes it sort of scary in a way. And I want to add this too. This is the movie I think of when I was talking earlier about 90s movies.
Yeah.
Fucking Witchcraft 3, that bar. Like it has the glass bricks. It has that blue lighting and like the sort of like that foggy appearance to it. All the
I love that though. I do. It's so nostalgic for me.
It's so nostalgic. This is such a nostalgic movie for me. And that's why I ranked it so high last time. I still love this one.
Yeah, me too.
This is the now this is the first movie of the 3 that we've talked about so far that has still not gotten a DVD or Blu-ray release.
It's kind of weird because I know the first 2 have, but they never put the third one on disc.
Yeah, part 3 is trapped on VHS and Laserdisc. But no.
They made a Laserdisc of that?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Wow, I bet you that's expensive.
No DVD, no Blu-ray for this one. It's one that is not available to stream right now, as far as I know. It's just one of those oddities, and honestly, it's a really good witchcraft movie.
Yeah.
As far as objectively good made movies, this is a better made movie.
It is.
And again, Charles Solomon is a big part of that. He is Will Spanner. He's the best Will Spanner.
In my
And
opinion, yeah, definitely.
yeah, I really do like this movie a lot. Again, I had it number 2 last time. It's number, what did we say this is? What?
6.
6 this time. But again, no fault of this movie. I think just because I almost got my love of it last time, that now I kind of put more attention on some of the others. You
Yep,
know, if
I
that
can
makes
see
sense.
that.
Like I'm appreciating some of the others more because I put so much appreciation into this one last time,
Yeah.
that now I sort of want to highlight some others. So I move them up above it a little bit.
What
Um,
bothers me a little bit is that my next one as
hey
well.
Hobbs.
Hey, Hobbs. My next one as well. Well, we'll get to that. Never mind. Good.
All right, well, we can go to the next one. Number 5. What do you got?
It's Witchcraft 2, The Temptress.
Fuck.
I wanted to put this so much higher because I really like this movie,
You
and this
fucking
is
had this high. You had this so high earlier.
it was my number one for a
Yeah.
while. But it is when we're first introduced to Charles Solomon Jr., of course,
Yep.
and he plays a teenager, and I love the whole teenage dynamic.
You
I like
loved it. Yeah.
the
You loved
kills in this,
it. This
and
is like the slasher movie
yes,
of the franchise.
yeah. Also, and this is one thing I was kind of iffy on, and this is going to sound really bad for me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway because this is my honest opinion.
Okay.
The Temptress, I kind of felt I didn't find her that attractive
All right.
throughout
So
most of the film.
I mean that. Yeah.
Take a guess, Joe.
What? What are you gonna say?
Until at the end where she got naked,
Okay. Yeah.
and I was like, "Get the fuck out of here!"
Well, to piggyback on that, and I'll talk about this more too when I get to where I place this. My
Yeah,
my issue with it is this. Okay, is that she's the temptress, but I'm more attracted to Will's girlfriend.
yeah, but I mean, come on. I mean, you have to.
I
I get
get
what
it. I get it, but I'm just saying it's like there's that scene of Will has that nightmare
yeah.
of her getting banged, and it's like holy shit, like his girlfriend, like
Why it's
dude,
funny?
like stay away from the neighbor, dude. Like I
Yeah,
don't like work harder to get in that chick's pants. Like the girlfriend's not giving it up. I get it. She's a little innocent Christian girl,
and that's
but
the whole thing.
my God, come on, she's a cutie.
That's the whole thing, and I think that was the temptation. I mean, of course, they call it the temptress, but that was the temptation for Will Spanner, is the fact that you had this gorgeous lady next door who was willing to give it up in a heartbeat and wanted
Yeah,
to do it, and he was
yeah,
like, "No, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. I
yeah.
don't want it.
Hey,
I'm
coffee
fine. I'm
break.
happy."
Mhm.
And I mean, come on, how much are you? How much are you going to take? You know what I mean?
I get it.
You know, I'm just saying, it's like, yeah. And I really like the Temptress, and that's one of the
So
ones that really stuck with me.
I know it did. That's why I'm surprised you have it
Yes,
at number 5.
I know, but I couldn't. When I was doing my ranking, I was like, I like this better. I like this better. I like this better.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
what's your number 5, Joe?
My number 5 is Witchcraft 5, Dance with the Devil.
Son of a bitch.
So this did jump up one spot. I believe I had this at number 6 last time. I believe. This jumped up a spot this time. It was higher for a little bit. I was kind of going back and forth with this.
Yeah.
I love the villain. Maybe not my favorite villain, but probably my second favorite villain in the franchise. This is the villain Kane. He's an evil warlock who basically disguises his evil powers as a magician, as a performing magician, which I think is pretty fucking clever. I mean,
Yes.
he goes up and he's doing actual magic because he
Yes.
has magical powers, but he's like this performing magician at clubs and stuff, but he's actually an evil warlock who's taking over, people's minds and stuff. And this is the first time we see a new Will, because Charles Solomon ended with 4, so 5
Yeah.
brings us a new Will. He
Hey,
wasn't
he's all
bad.
right.
Wasn't bad, but it's just to feel like he's not like as heroic enough until the end. Like
Yeah.
he kind of just gets, I don't know,
Bitch
like
slapped a
yeah,
lot
he
of
gets
times.
slapped around by Kane, the villain, and
Yeah.
the villain is so over the top. He's a scene
But I
stealer.
love it though.
Oh, it's great. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a positive. Like I love the villain. This guy is just so over the top. Every scene he is in, he steals. The way he talks, the way he moves, everything.
Yep.
Fantastic fucking villain. And this one ends in a really cool sword fight between Will and Kane, the villain. That's cool. This one also has a very good like 90s like misty bar club look to it.
Glass
We get
cubes.
this is the first appearance of Kelly.
Yes.
who goes on to make, is played by a bunch of different actresses. But
Yeah, never the same one twice though, and I thought that was funny.
the first appearance of the character Kelly. This is also the movie where, despite 4 having a lot of nudity from Julie Strain, Part
Yes.
5 is really the one where it starts to become erotic horror.
Yes.
You start to have these softcore scenes in there that are sort of just there. There's this one scene where Will goes to the basement because there's a leak, and Kelly goes down there with him to show him the leaky pipe, and they end up just fucking banging underneath the leaky pipe covered in water. The water's pouring down on top of them. It's sensual. You got the music playing. It's but
Probably my favorite Kelly.
it's pretty hot. It's a good scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's a good looking Kelly.
Yeah.
But yeah, 5, really good movie. It is the second of the 3 that has not been put on DVD or Blu-ray, which is unfortunate because, again, I think it's a strong entry, and I honestly think a lot of people feel that way. I think this is a favorite among people.
Yeah.
And as Ghoul World Order just said, if you guys pick Dance with the Devil as your number 1 pick, I cannot blame you for an obvious reason.
Exactly.
It really could be. I mean, if someone put Dance with the Devil as number 1, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't either, because the villain is so much fun in this one.
Yep.
And I think it makes up for the lack of Charles Solomon in.
I agree.
You
needed a villain like Kane and the guy who played him to steal the scenes, so that way you're less worried about Charles Solomon not being there. Because Charles Solomon as Will Spanner is a scene stealer because he's just so good in that role. He's just so good as that character. So it's just fun to watch him, even when he's not doing anything major. He just has a presence to him.
He does.
So the guy in 5, while he's not a bad Will Spanner, he just doesn't have that presence that Charles Solomon did. So with Kane the villain, he capitalizes on that and he steals the show. And he's just fun to watch. So Witchcraft 5, Dance with the Devil is my number 5. What do you have for number 4? You probably have Witchcraft 5, don't you?
I do.
Okay.
My number 4 is Witchcraft 5, Dance with the Devil, and it does make up for the lack of Charles Solomon because, of course, he's my favorite Will Spanner as well.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where you get to see a really powerful villain, and Will does get slapped around a bit in this one.
He does.
My favorite Kelly, hands down. I also like the Kelly from, I think it's part 6 as well. She's the one that took a lot of baths.
That's Bathtub Kelly. She's my favorite Kelly. Yeah, she's my favorite.
I like her too.
Mm-hmm.
But this was just such a fun movie.
I'm
going to tell you, and this is the one thing that I told you when we were watching it, that sword fight at the end was really well done. And
it's choreographed well, yeah.
It was, and that's the thing. With low-budget films, you don't get that in low-budget films.
Mm-hmm.
You get people that make false moves, and you get them where it's a lot of close battling. This was actually a little further away where somebody could have actually gotten hurt if they didn't know what they were doing.
And I'll give credit to the guy who plays Will Spanner in this, because even though he didn't have that presence of Charles Solomon, he's the one who pulls off this cool sword fight. So at least maybe most of his training went into that instead of playing the part, because you got to credit him with that at the end.
I also liked how they were able to, well, it's not a big surprise, how they were able to stop Kane. I'm not going to give that away, but I thought that was very clever.
Yep.
Cleverly written in.
I agree.
Joe, what is your number 4?
My number 4 is Witchcraft 11, Sisters in Blood. I know this is a favorite of yours.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. I actually had it at number 3 until like yesterday, and then I swapped it again.
I had it as number 2.
I know. Oh, you dropped it down?
I did.
Oh yeah, that's right. Me and you talked about that. Yeah. I know. But yeah, so at number 4 I have Witchcraft 11, Sisters in Blood. This is the one that has the sort of the wooden will. Okay, that's kind of the one drawback.
Yeah.
But this is the goriest of all the witchcraft films by far.
Yep.
This is not to say that they're not horror, but this is like the most that feels like a genuine horror film.
Yeah.
The look of
I really like the story.
The look of the ancient witches that are brought back from the dead. They look so fucking cool.
Yes.
I mean, they really do.
This was
So
a genuine horror movie.
this one has as a little backstory for anybody in the chat, just without giving too much away. You got Will, and he's engaged to Kelly, and Kelly's younger sister is in college. She's doing a play, Macbeth,
Yep.
with a couple other girls, and they decide to make it more realistic. They're going to do this seance and try to raise these witches. Of course, they do
the
it topless.
graveyard.
They do this. They do it topless in the graveyard.
Yeah.
The graveyard's really cool. They get interrupted. The witches come back to life, and now the ancient witches, who look really cool, need to take over younger bodies to basically complete the ritual.
Yep.
So, of course, Kelly's sister is going to be the last of the three that they're trying to get to, because they, they possess the other two, and there's one of their professors is in on it all, and he's banging the young chicks, and it's
this was my least favorite Kelly, though.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Mine too.
But I thought okay.
She's not. It's weird. She's
a good actress. She's a good actress.
Yeah, yeah.
She's just not.
She doesn't need to take the reins, though, because it's more about her sister, which is good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, her sister is more of the final girl in this one. Kelly is just a connection to Will.
Right.
But yeah, this one, it also has some cool creature effects at the end.
Yes, it does.
That's like, holy shit, this looks really good.
Yeah.
You have Lutz and Garner returning from the same roles that they played in 9, which I like. You get an uncut version of this along with a cut version. Jason and I watched the R-rated version, but there's an uncut version which I have on VHS, which does have some Stephanie Beaton nudity in there, and it has more nudity than that's already in this one, because there is some nudity in it already. Even
I can't wait to get that one from you.
I love the end, though, how that happens, like where Garner thinks he's with one girl and then it changes, because of what they're doing. They're jumping bodies and stuff.
Yep.
Really cool concept. I like that it's like a college horror film.
Yeah.
It's
and the witches.
It really is.
The witches are just so freaking creepy looking and cool looking at the same time.
They are.
I thought they were designed the way I want to see witches designed.
And the kills are so gory in this one.
Yes, they are.
Really are. They are the goriest kills in the movie. But yeah, I won't say any more because you still haven't gotten to this one yet. So that's my number. That's my number 4. Witchcraft 11, Sisters in Blood. What do you have in third place?
Witchcraft 11, Sisters in Blood.
Okay, look at that.
Yeah. So I really like this one. I wasn't sure because, we do get the wooden Will.
Wooden Will, yeah.
And we also get my least favorite Kelly, although I do think she was maybe the better actress of the
probably, yeah,
most of them.
Yeah.
But I just love the story, and just to reiterate a little bit of what we said, the witches were designed so well. And there is a spot at the end where I don't really want to give it away, but I kind of do because it was so cool looking. But I don't want to give it away. So they were basically trying to collect, it was souls, wasn't it? In order to bring back someone.
Yeah.
And it's a very well made film. And this is number 11 in the series, just like we were saying before.
Yeah.
You have 11, which is incredibly strong. 13 is incredibly strong. 16 is incredibly strong.
Yep.
And we like all the other ones in between. So,
11 was the last to be released on VHS.
Really? Yep, yeah, because that's what Beef Curtain said.
Yeah, that's the last one to be released on tape. That's a pretty cool fact, I guess,
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my number 3. What's your number 3, Joe?
My number 3 is Witchcraft 8, Salem's Ghost. So this, as I call the Halloween 3 of the franchise, and for those of you who hate Halloween 3, no, it's not a bad movie at all. Salem's, obviously, I have it ranked here at number 3. This is one, I said this last time when I did my ranking last year. I actually considered making this my number 1 last year. And
I considered making it my number 1 this year.
The reason why I didn't is because it's the standalone. It doesn't tie in. So I just dropped it a couple spots because of that. But this movie is ridiculously fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't even know what to compare it to.
Yeah.
What
it reminded me of a little bit?
What?
It reminded me a little bit of when we were talking about Twice Dead.
Twice Dead. I can see that.
Yeah, because of the house. I mean, and I don't know if you want to go through the story, but you basically have a professor who moves with his wife because of some infidelity, and he is teaching, and he decides to spice things up and kind of, because I guess they were saying he was boring or something, so he decides to take him back to his house.
They moved to a nice house in Salem, by the way.
Yeah,
that's why it's called Salem's Ghost.
Right. So, and it's a beautiful house. The house is definitely one of the characters in the film.
Oh, it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So the professor takes the students back to his house in order to teach them, and kind of mistakenly let something out of the house. And I'll pretty much leave it there. But it's a really fun film.
So yeah, I like this one a lot. I like that it takes it out of California and it's set in Salem, even though it wasn't filmed there. You know, it's still cool that it's set in Salem. I like that we show the opening scene shows what we're going to be seeing later on.
Yep.
I like the character of Sonny, which is the professor, and his wife. I just
Me
like
too.
them. I think they seem like a real married couple, just the way they are. Like they're not perfect, because obviously, you know, he's a college professor. He cheated on her with a student. They moved, you know, to get a new start, but he's a professor again. And there's another student now throwing herself at him. The wife, I don't get it. You know, I said to Jason, it's like I used the line.
She's really pretty.
I used the line from Sopranos. It's like, this guy's going off of hamburgers when he has prime rib at home.
Yep.
I mean,
she's really pretty.
It doesn't make sense, you know. But there's a scene in this one when him and his wife move into the house and they take like every food item out of the refrigerator and have sex. They're covering them. It is the messiest sex scene you will ever see.
But it's fun.
All I kept thinking about, who's going to clean up this fucking mess? They just moved in.
Yeah, you got that right.
But it is fun. I like the neighbors are cheesy and silly and goofy, but I like it. Not that it's the same in storyline, but it gives you like the same, like sort of like a vibe of like The Burbs, or like House with William Catt. Like it has like that funny, but like that fun, like I don't know, like don't get me wrong, the villain isn't funny. The villain's
it's a real villain.
He's a good villain. But there's like this like fun, good kind of cheesiness to the movie where it's just you can just have a fun time with it. It's hard not to have fun with this one. You know, like their characters in it. There's a witch hunter in this one.
Yes.
I don't know. I have such a good time with this one. I loved it last time. I loved it this time.
Me too.
I was happy you did too, because I kind of feel like this is the one that people either love or hate.
I was just going to say that, dude. I was just going to say that this movie has some stuff that I feel like could take people out of it, especially like the girl's voice and the overtopness of the goofy neighbors.
I think it's funny though.
Like
I think it's.
I loved it. I just thought it was. I thought it was so lighthearted and fun.
That's what this one is. This is the most lighthearted, I think, of the entire franchise.
I think so too.
I've seen like they had fun making this one, and they genuinely were trying to make a good movie with the budget that they had and everything else.
Exactly.
They were really trying with this one. They were trying to do a little something different with the franchise. And I think another big positive for number 8 for me is that it makes 9 all the more better. Because I feel like, you know, Will Spanner dies in part 7, as we said. He dies right at the end, and you're like, holy shit, now what? And then you get into 8 where you're like, damn, it's like a whole new story. Okay. But they make it a really fun story that you get into. You're like, okay, I like this. This is good. So then when 9 brings back the ghost of Will Spanner, you're like, huh. Like you almost needed that break in between. And this is something I've always said about Halloween 3. People can shit on it all they want. But if we didn't have Halloween 3, I feel like Halloween 4 wouldn't be as special. Because
we may not have even gotten Halloween 4.
Exactly. Because I feel like the return of Michael Myers is so special because you didn't have him in 3. So, and I feel like that's sort of what this one does for Will Spanner. When Will Spanner comes back in 9, you're like, hell yeah, like here we go. Like we thought he was going because we got a whole new movie without him. And now you're bringing him back and you're literally picking up where part 7 left off. So I do give credit to 8 for that, but also because 8 as a standalone is a really fun fucking movie.
It is. It is a fun movie. And I like the professor especially. I thought he was a kind of
he's like an underdog kind of hero, which I like.
Lovable nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, he's not perfect. He had his infidelities
No.
and stuff, but he seems like he's trying to be better.
Hey, Coffin, what's up, buddy?
All right, so that brings us to
Number 2
number 2. So
is
what do you have for number 2? You have
Witchcraft
Witchcraft 8, Salem's Ghost, right?
Salem's Ghost. And it was basically for everything you just said. It was really fun. I loved the house. I thought the house was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it seemed plausible how they were able to. You had the students in there, and he was like kind of like a history professor. So you had students in there that were just kind of taking a tour of the house. You split up, you take a tour of the house, and they accidentally unleash something.
Yep.
And I mean, that's the kind of horror movie that I like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much why it's at number 2 for me. It originally I had Witchcraft 11 at number 2, but I really like Salem's Ghost. I really think it's a fun standalone, and I wasn't sure how I was going to take it because, as we said before, in part 7 you have the death of Will Spanner, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, I remember telling you he's not dead.
Yeah.
But he was. So
I know. Then I texted you and I put the death of Will Spanner.
Yeah, I was like,
no. And you literally put what the fuck?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Like, well, this guy's been the main character for the entire thing, just about.
Also, to follow the routine of what we've been saying, Witchcraft 8, Salem's Ghost. If you want to talk about, the ghost movie of the franchise, the scanners, the whatever, this is the haunted house version of Witchcraft. Yeah. This is like your typical, like a couple buys a new house and they unleash something, something gets unleashed mistakenly, and now they're stuck in this fucking haunted house with it. Hey, how you doing, JP?
Hey, JP. Number 2, and I'm not. Well, I know what your number 2 is by process of elimination.
So my number 2 is Witchcraft 2, The Temptress.
I really wanted to put it higher, dude.
I honestly thought this is where it was going to end up for you. I did.
It was close, but I mean, like I said, Dance with the Devil, you have Kane, very strong. Sisters in Blood, I had an absolute blast with, and Salem's Ghost, I loved. So,
I get it. One more thing about Witchcraft 8 before I forgot to mention. So we've already mentioned 3 and 5, no DVD releases, no Blu-rays. Witchcraft 8, Salem's Ghost is the third of the 16. Out of the 16 movies, there are 3 movies that don't have DVD and Blu-ray releases. And it's 3, 5, and then Witchcraft 8, Salem's Ghost, which unfortunately
that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's just crazy.
How you doing, JP? Yeah, JP, this is the second. I watched them all last year when I reviewed and ranked them. I did all 16 last year, and Jason and I just watched all 16 again.
Yeah,
for this.
It's first time for me.
I'm telling you, they're a lot of fun. Don't let other people deter you from them.
Yeah, they are fun.
As long as you know what to expect, they're a lot of fun.
And I went in with high expectations because of how Joe ranked them and the way he talked about them last year. So he made me this, and I went in with high expectations and still enjoyed them. Actually, I enjoyed them more than I thought I would.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So back to my number 2, Witchcraft 2, The Temptress.
Yeah.
It's our introduction to Charles Solomon as Will Spanner.
Yep.
That's key for me.
It's a teen film.
I had this at number 3 last time, by the way.
Did you really?
I did. This was my 3rd place last time. It's now number 2. Witchcraft 2 it feels like a teen slasher film.
It does. Yeah.
It's just the way that it's just the feel of it, the vibe that you get. You have Will Spanner as a teenager, even though he looks like he's in his 30s.
40s. Yeah.
40s and 30s.
But he plays it so well, though. He really does.
He really does. He has like the surfer dude sort of attitude.
He does.
I like the house that he lives in with his adoptive parents.
Me too.
He has like the typical teen slasher movie, like best friend, like this goofy kind of best friend.
What was his name? Bonkers?
Boomer.
Boomer.
Yeah.
I remember his name.
I
liked him though.
He's fun. There's like the nerdy girl in the neighborhood, like who's supposed to be the nerdy girl who's actually cute underneath the glasses. Like they throw glasses on her and it's like, hey.
Let me tell you something. I loved that kill. I love that kill. That kill reminds me of what I love so much about horror movies.
And that's what I was going to say. The kills in this one really do play out like slasher movie
Yeah,
kills.
they do. Yep.
Like it's slasher style kills in this one, and the way they're spaced out, the way the kills are done, it feels like you're watching a witchcraft slasher film.
Yeah.
Um, I like I said, I like Will's girlfriend in this, Michelle.
Yeah,
Uh,
me too.
I think she's super cute. I like it's the whole. I love the contrast of the fact that she's like this innocent, Christian virgin who
Yep.
just doesn't want to give it up. And here's Will as a warlock that he doesn't even realize he's a warlock.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get it in so bad with her. He's getting cock blocked by everything. And he gets like so close, and it's like, damn, he's literally having freaking dreams about her getting banged by, you know?
Yep.
Um, yeah, I love The Temptress. I just love that it's a teen horror film, slashers vibe. First Charles Solomon Jr.
Yeah.
First time we see Will Spanner as this character, really, because we only get to see him as a baby in the first movie.
Yeah.
I have so much fun with 2. When I watched it last year, and I said this in my ranking, and I might have even said it in my review. First time I watched this one, I thought to myself, now this is only part 2. I thought there can be no better witchcraft film than this one.
Yeah.
That's how much I liked it. I mean, seriously, like watching it, I enjoyed it that much. I was like, this is super fun. This is my kind
It
of horror
is.
film. I really did love it. And it turns out that last year there were 2 more that I preferred, and this year there's only 1 more that I prefer, but there is one that I prefer to part 2. So that brings us to number 1.
We
You
can
and I
just do
have
it together and
you
talk
and I
about it
have the
together.
same number
Yep.
1. In my
Yep.
opinion, it is the best witchcraft film. It was my number 1 last year, and it is my number 1 again. And it's your number 1 as well.
Yep.
And it is Witchcraft 6, The Devil's Mistress. I think you just froze. So I think Jason froze, so I'll still talk to the chat. He freezes at number 1 here, unfortunately. Um, Number 1 is Witchcraft 6, The Devil's Mistress. Hopefully he gets unfrozen in a second. Last year in my ranking, I said that I ranked this as number 1 because I feel it is the best representation of the witchcraft franchise. Um, it has pretty much everything you can expect in a witchcraft film, between the nudity, the sex scenes. You have a pretty decent Will Spanner in this one. He's not my favorite, but he's definitely not my least favorite. He's probably my third favorite Will Spanner in the entire franchise. Um, this also introduces us to the characters of Lutz and Garner, who are, these 2 detective characters that are throughout the rest of the franchise, although they are changed. This is our first Lutz and Garner introduction. I feel like the characters of Lutz and Garner in this sequel have really, really good chemistry. They're both male, but they seem like they've been partners for years. The way they kind of bounce off each other, the chemistry they have, the jokes, they're just funny. They seem real. They seem realistic. Their police chief is sort of on them for not getting results quick enough with these ritualistic killings that are going on. It's young women who wear gold crosses are being killed all around the city, and they can't figure out why they're connected. Um, and they're obviously on the case, and they call in Will Spanner, who is a warlock, to help them on the case and try to figure out what's going on. And yeah, Witchcraft 6 just has, again, everything you can expect in a witchcraft film. It is the best representation of this franchise. It was my favorite last year. It's my favorite again this time. I just think it's a blast. It's has a really good villain as well. I think it's probably my favorite villain in the entire franchise. I think Jason is going to say the same thing. This was his favorite villain, I believe. Just the guy's presence, the overall presence. His name is Mr. Savanti, Charles Savanti, I believe his name is, and he's really cool. He's like this creepy older guy. He has like these long nails. He's like a businessman, but obviously he has this dark side to him. And he's trying to complete this ritual to literally birth Satan by sacrificing virgins. The problem is he's having a hard time finding virgins around the city. Go figure. So that's what part 6 is about. I just have the best time watching this one. It's one too. When I watched it last year, like I just said about part 2, when I watched 2 last year, I thought, oh, there can be no better witchcraft film. When I watched 6 last year, I thought the same thing. Funny you freeze on number 1.
Yeah.
I'm talking about six, saying all the stuff you and I talked about the Savanti being the best villain in the franchise, in my
Oh,
opinion.
definitely, definitely.
You
I
have
lost power. Can you believe
you,
that?
you have the introduction of Garner and Lutz, even though they're both men. I love their chemistry, how they bounce off each other. They seem real. They seem like they're real partners. They're
I
so
agree.
funny. I was talking about how it's funny that the ultimate goal of the villain here is to sacrifice a virgin, and he has such a hard time finding a virgin in the city. But
Once
how
bitten.
Lutz and Garner call in Will Spanner to help them. Will
Yeah.
Spanner he's a decent Will Spanner in this one. Not my favorite, but definitely not my least favorite. He's a good Will Spanner. Good nudity in this one. Lots of nudity, and it's just, to me, is when you're watching it, I feel like when you're watching it, you sort of know. Yeah, this is going to be number one. I mean, you even said it when we watched it. You're like, yep,
Yeah.
this is number one for me now.
Yeah.
And despite loving the rest of the movies that follow, none of them really ever top part six. Part six
No.
has a charm to it, has a special quality. You watch it and you feel that it's special. You feel like, yeah, this is the best witchcraft movie. It's just how I feel about it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things is you had a great villain right before part 6 in part
That's
5.
true, Greg. Yes.
And
Exactly.
I thought, I was like, well, if we get a better, um, if we get a better Spanner, then maybe I'll like it more. And I mean, the villain was just so much better than the one in 5. Even though I like that one, but
Yeah, I mean, the one in 5, I honestly think is one of the better villains, and typically people who have seen it consider Kane in 5 to be one of the best villains in the
yeah,
franchise. But then you have Savanti in part 6, who's just, he's not as over the top as Kane is in 5.
he's
But
creepy.
he has like this creepy, he's like this creepy older businessman with those long nails. And
White suits.
yeah, it's just he has like evil women doing his bidding for him.
Yep.
Yeah, I love 6. I really do. There's just something special about it for me. Again, when I watched it last time, I was like, "Yup, this is number one for me right now." When I watched it this time, I was like, "Yup, this is going to be number one
Number
again."
one for me again. Is there anything that came close though?
Not
Or
really.
was there a big gap for you? Because I really don't see anything that kind of came close.
Nope, I agree. The only thing I can see putting at number one, other than 6, would be if I chose to put 8 at number one, because
Yeah.
8 is like, because of 8 being a standalone and being sort of like just this really fun. Not that I can't promote these movies enough. Not that I don't love the other movies, but 8 is sort of fun in a different way that the others aren't.
Yes. Yeah,
So
it's more lighthearted.
I feel like somebody can watch part 8 and not see the others and be like, oh, I really like this movie.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to watch the others to watch part 8, and you don't need to like the others to like part 8. You
I
can
agree.
like it on its own. But other than 8, 6 is just stands out above the rest.
Yeah, it does.
It really does. 6 is just really well done. And again, it's that cop dynamic with Lutz and Garner.
Yeah.
I love their the jokes that they make. They're realistic. They seem like real guys. Yeah, it just works.
Cheat sheet
all around.
real quick.
Yeah, so I went on about what I like about it. So you disappeared. So you can talk about what you like about 6.
Yeah. Well, number 1 is the best villain in the series. We both agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
And you were just talking about it because I couldn't remember whether this was the first movie with Lutz and Garner, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
And no offense against Lutz being a girl or how it became that way, because if you watch the series, you'll find that out.
Mm-hmm.
But these two guys were great together.
They are. Right to the end, too. Right to the end.
Yeah. Yep. Constantly joking around. Different dynamic, but it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And see, this is a tough one for me because the girlfriend.
Oh, I didn't even mention that yet. Okay, so are you talking about Kelly?
Yeah.
So Kelly in this one, this is my personal favorite Kelly. I like 5 a lot. 5 is my second favorite, but 6 is my favorite Kelly. This girl is always in the bathtub. This girl is always naked every time you see her. She's either wearing a towel.
She's clean.
Or she's in the bathtub.
Yeah.
She
Yep.
doesn't just get topless. She's like showing full bush through this whole fucking
Yep.
movie. Like
Yep.
she's just all out there. But there's also like this like sweetness to her, like as the character,
Yeah.
and she also fights back, which I like. At one point, like she fucking stabs him with the scissors.
Yes, she
I
does.
like I really like Kelly in this. I do. I think she has like a unique look to her. You know, it's not to say that she's necessarily the hottest Kelly, but there's like this. She has a unique attractiveness to her,
Yeah, I agree.
and that's sort of what I like about her. She looks different than the rest of the Kellys.
Yes, she does.
Like the rest of them are all like blondes, and even
Yep.
though 11 looks a little different than the rest,
Yeah.
like all of the others sort of have a similar look to them. But
Well, even the one in 11 is blonde.
yeah, but you can tell she's
Yeah.
different, you know.
Yeah.
But part 6 looks different. She looks like a different Kelly,
Yeah, she
and
does.
but I like it. I mean, I like how she looks.
She's definitely my second favorite.
Yeah, she's a good Kelly. I liked
Yeah.
her the first time too, and
She's a good Kelly.
she's a good Kelly. But yeah, I just everything I really do. I love everything about 6.
Yeah, me too. Fantastic movie. And let's see. Part 6 has Jerry Spicer as
Will Spanner.
Will Spanner. I liked him. I thought he was pretty good.
He is my third favorite Will Spanner.
Yeah.
So I got Charles Solomon. I got what's his name in 13? I knew it too, and now
I got it right here, Joe. It's Tim Roble.
yeah, Tim Roble. Yep. So Charles Solomon is my favorite Will Spanner. He's Will in 2, 3, and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Roble is my second favorite Spanner. He's Will in part 13.
Yeah.
And my third favorite Spanner is part 6 is Jerry
Spicer.
Oh, because he again plays it closer to how Charles Solomon created the character. Now, I also do like the Will Spanner in 7 and 9.
I was gonna ask you how you felt about him. I liked him. I thought he was. That's David Burns. Byers.
Yeah, ghostwriter. Yeah. Well, if you like that stuff, you'll like these movies. What are you waiting for? But that brings us here to this sort of portion. I know we've sort of been doing it throughout, but we also want this stream to be sort of a positive spin for the.
I think the whole thing's been a positive spin.
I agree.
Yeah.
We had talked about doing a positive spin video, talking about just all 16 movies in one video, but we figured it'd be a really long video to do that.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
so it was Jason's idea to sort of make this a positive spin as well, and I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I really can't express enough how much I want to promote this franchise. And I wanted to do that last year. And then I was thinking, well, I can't just do it again next year. But why the fuck can't I? So, Jason and I decided to do this. Jason wanted to watch these movies. We watched them all together, like I said, in 6 days.
Yep.
We wanted to do this ranking and this positive spin. And again, we want to make it a tradition and do this every year. That's how much we like these movies.
They're a lot of fun.
They're very rewatchable. And I feel like, as you can see by my ranking, it changed from last year to this year.
Yeah, I got to watch that again after
this.
Who's
to say what my ranking is going to be next year when we do it again? There might be something else I notice in another one that I'm like, you know what? I like it more this time, or I like this, whatever. So I really like that. And I don't want people to just brush these off as like, erotic horror. I'm not into that.
Well, we did once upon a time before we actually sat down and watched them,
And that's what I'm saying. Once I gave them a chance, I was like, damn, this is not what I expected. Like certain things, yes, but they're so much better than I expected them to be.
I am genuinely entertained by every single movie in this franchise.
Yep, without a doubt.
I can understand people watching them and saying, well, maybe this one isn't for me or this one isn't for me. I'm fine with that. But to say that the entire series is garbage, it kind of rubs me the wrong way.
But what's brilliant about this series is that if you watch one of them and say, oh, I don't like this, it does something different in every movie that you can watch the next one and fucking love it.
Yep.
So if you're somebody who watches one movie and says, they're not for me, and you give up on 15 other films because you didn't like one, you're missing out. I mean, again, in this ranking, Jason and I both have the original Witchcraft film, the objectively best made film in the franchise. We have it.
It is a good film too.
We have it ranked last. So what does that tell you? You know what I mean? Yep. I I love this franchise. It really does have a special place in my heart now.
Yeah.
Like
I'm ready to start it over again, to be honest.
me too. I really do. How sad were we when we ended it? Like when it was over, we were literally like, damn, like
Yeah.
we couldn't wait to finish, but we didn't want to finish. You know?
Yeah.
I'm very proud to own all of these because again, that's no easy feat at this point.
Me too.
I mean, it's one thing to be able to watch all of them, but to be able to own all of them is just it's not easy now.
Yeah.
They're really hard to get a hold of.
And maybe that'll change. Maybe it won't. I mean, I don't know what the future brings, but you can always keep an eye on them because things do change in the market. So
yeah, I mean, these seem to definitely be trending in this way, especially
right now, yeah,
especially because of the fact that again, 3 of them are only on VHS.
yeah.
And then some of the others, even the ones that are on DVD, are out of print and they're so expensive to get them on DVD. So it's like even though Part 7 was released on DVD, you're not going to pay $150 for the DVD on eBay. You know what I mean? You're more likely to try to find a VHS tape, which might cost you maybe $40.
Actually, I
So
think objectively, the ones that might be the hardest to get are 14 through 16 now.
those are tough now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got them
I got them on
when they
Blu-ray.
had them. Yeah.
And that's and that was sort of my plan at the time. I was like, do I need to get them on Blu-ray? Can I just settle for the DVDs? But I was like, it's kind of cool to go through, the VHS era.
Yep.
Then you have the DVD era, which also includes
Progress of
multi-packs,
time.
and then you have the final 3 on Blu-ray. So it's kind of cool seeing them like that,
This is going to sound weird, but were 14, 15, and 16 released on DVD?
Yes, they were released on DVD and on Blu-ray.
Wow.
So
Okay.
you could buy them on DVD separately or Blu-ray separately, not like a combo pack. Like it was either DVD or Blu-ray.
Now, this is basically what I wanted to say for people who are actually interested in the series. Maybe talk to Sterling. The Make Flicks is what it's called, Make Flicks, because the last 3 films are Sterling. I'm not sure who owns the rights to the rest, but we could very well maybe get a box set in the future. I mean, it's possible.
That would be amazing. I would buy it day one. I would, and again, it just goes to
It'd
show
be
you
expensive too.
how much I love these movies. That would be something that I would be willing to drop the money on.
Yeah.
I truly would, and also because chances are it might not be in print that long. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It might be one of those things where like get it while you can. And I'm disappointed in myself for missing out on some of the Trauma DVD releases of the sequels, because I used to see them around all the time, and I was like, do I really need them? And then I got the VHS tapes and stuff, and I was happy with. And don't get me wrong, I'm a VHS collector, so I rather have them on VHS.
Yeah. Do you have any other Trauma DVDs?
I don't.
I saw one the other day on Amazon. It was like $9. I'll get with you later on it.
Hold on.
Yeah, it was like $9.
Was it Part 4?
I don't remember. I'll have to look it up again.
So here's another thing, guys. eBay. If you see a Trauma Witchcraft DVD cheap, chances are it is not the official one.
Really?
Yes. I know Witchcraft 4 got a re-release, and you can't see me, but I'm doing finger quotes. What it really is one of those overseas all-region DVDs that just use the stuff. And they put it in the plastic wrapping to make it seem like you're getting a legit copy. It is not.
Huh.
So
interesting.
They're like those overseas bootlegs, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. If I saw it at like a thrift store, I'd buy it. But
hell yeah.
probably not gonna order it. You know what I mean? Because I much rather wait and try to find a official one for a good price. You know what I mean?
I agree, Ghost Rider. They are fun.
But I do have the Scimitar DVD releases of Witchcraft and Witchcraft 2.
Okay. Is that the one that's the double feature?
Well, the double feature, it came in a box. It's basically the individual cases of that double feature.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like it's they come in their own keep cases. So it's Witchcraft and Witchcraft 2. I have those on DVD. I have Witchcraft 12 on DVD. I have Witchcraft 13 on DVD. I also have Witchcraft 13 in multi-packs.
Yeah.
I know you have a multi-pack that I don't have that you'll be sending me at some point that has Witchcraft 13 in it. So that'll be another one I can add to that. I also have a multi-pack that has Witchcraft 10, 11, and 12 on it.
Yeah.
But
that's mislabeled too, you said.
Yeah, it has Witchcraft 10 labeled as Witchcraft.
Yeah.
And then I also have Witchcraft 14, 15, 16 on Blu-ray,
Yeah.
obviously. And then I have the first 11 on VHS, and some of them I have as screener copies, some of them I have as regular releases. So it just depends on the movie.
Did you try the ones I sent you?
I haven't yet, but I will.
Cool. I mean, they look clean, so.
But
that was my Once Upon a Time Witchcraft collection. Now I have all the films.
I gotta say, I have to say, and again, not to pat myself on the back, I was pretty proud of how that set came out.
I was going to say something earlier that, and yeah, we've talked about this before, but the set that you made me, all the prints were pretty much phenomenal.
I mean, yeah, as best as you can get right now. I mean,
I thought that they were great. I mean, and the stuff that's in them is the stuff that's in the actual films itself, like 4 with sound and 13 with the little jumpy.
Yeah, that's on the VHS.
Yeah, anyway. That wasn't anything you did.
No, no.
Yeah, but yeah, this is definitely it's a long process to probably track down all these movies, but hey, if it's something that you're interested in and want to see, then I definitely suggest you go for it.
These now, I mean, I own them all, but now these are also movies. Like if I was telling you one night, if I see these at a thrift store, I'm picking them up anyway. Yeah. Whether it's to send you a copy or whoever, Brad, whatever, you know what I mean? Or just to have an extra copy myself, just because they're that rare now. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like there are things like if I find them cheap enough, if I find them in a thrift store and it's a copy that I already have and you already have or Brad already, you know what I mean? I would still buy it. I would still pick it up. Just because it's just those types of movies where it's like, fuck it. Like, and it's an extra copy to have if later on in the line someone wants one or needs one or a tape breaks, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
They're just those types of movies for me now that, like I said, they have a special place in my heart. I have a lot of fun with them. They're very nostalgic for me because I remember staring at those covers at the video store.
Me too.
So I love having them displayed in my VHS room, just sort of like cover to cover to cover to cover. It just looks really cool.
Yeah, there were certain series that were like that for me, and that was one of them. It was Basket Case, Mirror Mirror, and Witchcraft.
Yep.
And they were all ones I never took a chance on.
I do. I really do. I love them. I cannot express enough how much I recommend these movies.
Yeah.
Just for the entertainment value. Again, don't go in there expecting Citizen Kane and The Godfather or whatever else. But at the same time, I feel like most of them are really well-made movies.
Well, they're entertaining.
Yeah.
And the ones that aren't that well-made are entertaining.
So. Exactly. Is there anything else you want to say?
I'm pretty sure we covered it. Like I said, I'm ready to watch them again. So it'll be a nice break, sort of. Even though, like I said, I can watch it again.
Well, let's say this to anybody in the chat: if you are interested and you decide you want to start tracking these down, okay? Next year, literally next year. No, we're not in the next few months, but next year, at some point in 2023, Jason and I plan to watch these again. We might do them over the course of a weekend or something, where we kind of marathon them, and maybe we'll do some watch-alongs. We might do like some live streaming and stuff like that. So if anybody is interested in doing that and you want to track down these movies, start hunting for them. And maybe you can watch along with us next year when we do this. And I think that'll be a fun thing. And kind of get the word out there in these movies, and we can sit there and we can make fun of the things that are cheesy about them, and we can sit there and we can talk about the stuff that we enjoy about them, because
we had a lot of fun.
We really did
commenting back and forth, and I think a lot of it got lost because we were
exactly, Brad,
commenting back and forth, and it would be fun to do some of these on stream where we could really have a good time with them.
Thank you, Ghoul. Appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, seriously, I do. I think these would be fun to do while we do on a stream.
Yep.
Like again, I think Witchcraft 10, if we watch it in a stream next year, I feel like Witchcraft 10 will jump up another spot in my ranking because it's just one of those fun movies,
It is. Yeah. I'm interested to see how I'm going to feel about them next time, because there were some that were teetering, and like I said, I did my ranking and I'm happy with my ranking, but part 2, The Temptress, is a hard one for me to get out of my mind.
Well, again, it jumped for me. Last year it was number 3. It's second. That's my second favorite now. I will
Yeah.
say, and who knows, but I will say, I don't see Witchcraft 6 dropping. I,
No,
I,
I don't think so
I
either
just
because
think,
it's the best one.
it really is. It's just good
Maybe not the
overall.
best made, but it's the best overall witchcraft film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But with that being said, my top 5 can jump around again, like it did from this time, because last year
Yeah.
it was different, and it might not be this, it might not be different movies in the top 5, but they might be in a different order.
And who knows? Maybe I can watch the uncut part of 11 next year, and we'll that might jump up for me too.
Exactly.
Although it doesn't really have many places to go.
Hopefully, I can, yeah, and then I can try to get the uncut 10 on a disc for you too.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love that. Yeah, that would be awesome. I just put it in my set.
Exactly. Yeah, I can do like a disc, like a bonus disc that has Witchcraft 10 and 11 uncut. That's
Yep.
what I can do. Then you can just add to the set.
Hell yeah, that would be awesome. And this would not be possible without you making these for me. So I mean, I know I've told you thank you a million times because I've had so much fun with this, but thank you again because it's when I said when I got him that it was a bucket list box set, it was a bucket list box set.
Yeah,
it was something I really wanted to see, something I really wanted to experience.
yeah.
And that was because of you. So,
Well, and that's the thing. I know you did. I mean, I know you showed a lot of interest last year when I did my reviews and
yeah,
I did my ranking, and you got into it, and I appreciated that. And
yeah,
like Beef Curtains, who was on the stream earlier, he was another one. He would comment on all those videos, and he was sort of keeping up with them and watching them along with me as I was watching them, and he was
that's
picking them up
awesome.
as he could. And I appreciated that because that's what I was trying to do. Even if I get across to one person that to get interested in these, and it turned out there was quite a few people who got interested, and
Yeah,
I knew you were into them, and I knew you'd be able to watch them with me and appreciate them the same way that I do.
yeah,
And I was happy to be able to do it, and so that way we could watch them together and do this. And
I did. I had a blast with it. Like I said, I'm ready to start again. So,
absolutely. And and I know Brad's interested in checking these out too. So
yeah,
I can get a set to him, and he can watch them with us too.
I would actually be very, very curious on what he thinks of some of these. I mean, I know he's going to love the women in here. Are like, I mean, they're just gorgeous.
I truthfully think he will enjoy them.
Yeah,
I do.
entertaining. They're entertaining. They're very entertaining
because he appreciates like full moon films like we do, and like certain, what I mean, like films like that, like certain Wild Eye films, and yeah, exactly. And again, and with that being said, a lot of these are better made than a lot of these films that we watch a lot. So,
and they're considered the worst horror franchise ever, which I don't get.
It's yeah. So I do. I really think people who have written these off, if they watch them, they're sort of going to be a breath of fresh air and be like, huh, these really aren't as bad as I thought they were going to be.
The vote of confidence. Well, Julie Strain's in one of them, so I know you're into that one already.
I think he'll like that one anyway. The whole film
noir
thing.
Yeah, I just love the way that went off.
The rock band. It's just there's a lot for him to like in that.
Yep. So
I do. I mean, it's a great franchise in my opinion.
It's fun. It's so much fun.
I mean, 16 films, and I still want more.
Yeah. I was trying to think of interesting things that could be done with the Will Spanner character, and even like Lutz and
I said,
Garner.
I think it'd be cool for them to do a movie with like multiple Wills and try to bring back actors who played him.
That's cool. That's cool.
Like I mean, they can do a storyline on that. Why not? As a warlock, he he somehow gets like cloned, like not scientifically, but like magically, and now like you have good Will Spanner battling his evil doppelgangers. Like that'd be fucking great.
That would be awesome. I don't know, the David character, his ghost, he might be too strong for him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Grew it awful damn fast. I'm telling you, it's just fun.
It really is.
So, but yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah. Well, this was fun. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too.
Ever since we decided to do Witchcraft, You know, we were thinking we were gonna do this maybe in November or maybe early next year, and we were like, fuck it, you know what? Let's just do it now.
Yep.
And we
Yep.
still got it done with plenty of time. It's only September 16th, so now we can.
I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to start watching them. I almost watched the first one without you.
You got that box on Friday.
Yep.
And Friday night you were like, okay, let's watch Witchcraft. No, Friday you got the box, and I said, oh, are you gonna want to watch them tonight? You're like, maybe. So I said, okay, well, let me know. And then later on, you're like, oh, all right, let's watch something. I said, what do you want to watch? And you said Witchcraft. And I was like, okay, let's do it.
I was fucking with you.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But I knew it was gonna be Witchcraft too. Like, let's just do them.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean,
hell yeah.
I think there was one day we watched like 5 in one day.
Yeah. And one more thing, I don't want to beat a dead horse or whatever, but these aren't exactly short films. I mean, they're not long films, but they were in Full Moon. We were in and out in an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes.
These are like 80.
These are almost an hour and a half each movie,
yeah.
except for like 2 or 3 of them. I mean, they're
a couple of them were over 90 minutes.
Yes.
Some of the early ones.
Yeah. Hour and 33, hour 34.
Yeah. Thanks, bro.
But they're paced really well. They are paced really well.
I can't emphasize that enough either. I can't. Yeah. I mean, we said that every fucking time we were watching one. We were like, how is this one almost over?
I mean, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody in the chat.
Thank you, everyone. As always, I appreciate it.
Anybody who's going to watch this back, tomorrow or next week or whenever, we appreciate you watching as well.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for doing this. Seriously, watch Witchcraft. If you have the opportunity to watch these movies, do it and try to watch all 16. You can watch one here and there, but seriously, I really recommend start at 1 and watch how they progress after 1. Like 1 establishes the story, and then watch how the sequels use that story in different ways. It's such a fun experience.
It is, and it makes sense when you watch it all together. It really does. And I did not expect 16 movies to
bingo 16. Yeah,
really I just didn't expect it.
16 does a great job. Again, when you're the 16th movie in a franchise and you're that good,
I was completely blown away. Completely blown away.
Exactly. So thanks again, everybody.
Yep.
This has been fun. We'll be back in October with our next one. We'll be doing another ranking.
Yep.
Obviously, it'll be Halloween themed movies. I won't give the specifics, but yeah, we'll be back next month with another stream. So stay tuned for that. And thanks for watching, guys. See ya.